Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of the Barren Lands. This is episode 12. The Barren Lands D&D campaign, Only Skin Deep, is the title of tonight's session. I would like to remind the players to unmute their tracks app if they'd like to hear the music. We're queuing up for the session. Waz is joining back up. Here we go. All right. Unfortunately, Kelf will not be with us tonight, and neither will J-Dog. They are both out for their own respective reasons. We'll miss them tonight, but we're going to continue forward with Valenti, Booker, Faylene, and Hector. And where we left off last time, the group was basically at camp. There was some talking going on, some discussion, and they are planning to make their way to the fort. How will that go down? What will happen? Only time will tell. So let's dive into it. And let's start by basically, I'll ask all of you, do you want to all go ahead and take a long rest, or do you want to role play through anything else before the long rest?
I'm good with a long rest.
I won't say no.
We have a little bit of an echo somewhere.
Yeah, sorry. I'm having all sorts of tech issues.
Oh, that's okay. No problem. So does anyone else, does a long rest sound good to everybody else? Go ahead and finishing it out, which will get you very close to dawn. Actually, it'd be it'd be about dawn, actually. Exactly dawn. So as the dawn sun begins to rise over your campsite, shining through the pines, you realize it's going to be, seems to be clear weather. No clouds, no snow that you can see in the horizon, icy cold as usual. What would you like to do when you begin to stir and wake up?
Well, Valenti is going to go ahead and start gathering her equipment. More than likely, she was already keeping watch anyway because she only needed the 4 hours in the trance, and she will start getting ready to start moving forward.
All
on
right.
the long trek.
So, you guys are familiar with the path and how long it will take you. At this point, you should be able to reach it by midday if you move pretty quickly, as quickly as you have been going. Does this sound like what you would like to do, or do you have things you'd like to do? Like, what I'm basically saying is you could fast track onto the road if you would like, but anything you might want to do in the meantime, feel free.
I think, well, at least Booker is all set up now.
Yeah, and I think for Lancia, aside from just casual conversation or whatnot, if Kerrigan goes up, but other than that, yeah, we're fast tracking forward if
all right,
anybody else has anything else they want to do.
Yeah, I'm fine fast tracking forward. Faylene's just going to keep working on her staff until somebody says it's time to move out.
Actually, I think Faylene, by the time you guys are almost ready to go, I would say that she would finish her staff.
Ah, sweet.
And yeah, if there's anything thematic you would like to, go through with that, feel free.
Yeah, so Faylene would, at this point, have completely stripped down and smoothed over this very long sapling that's extends almost as tall as she is, and then glued to the top of it and secured one of the antlers she saved from the deer that was killed, and then finishing it off with some runes she's carved in with one of the little pin bones from the deer. She'll take it and start to cure the sapling and the remnants of the fire, twisting it to get a nice, even, dark finishing over the wood. And as she does that, she'll actually call to her tribe's one of her tribe's patrons, Helmeka, the goddess of the harvest and of the shepherd. And just under her breath in Elvish, she'll say, "Grant me wisdom for the brook, grant me strength for our herd and flock, grant me sight to lead back to the motherlands."
And you say this was kind of under her breath?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, don't forget, all of you have a heroic inspiration left over from the last session. Don't forget about that.
Mhm.
But you complete the staff, and you notice that Lotto is kind of looking across the fire at you. And whenever you see him looking at you, he would just kind of nod at you as if to say, nice walking stick. It seems to be kind of like what he's... The horses are whinnying restlessly. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, she would just say something to the effect of, "Good morning, Lotto." Just very obviously, and not really elaborate on anything she's doing.
He is going to stand up and walk over to you, and he's going to kind of whisper, "Do we have any food left?"
We have 3 more portions of that deer. I have some loot string. I was going to set up a snare if we stay out here longer, but I think we want to keep moving for now.
He's going to he kind of looks down. He looks a little dejected. He says, "I guess no breakfast this morning." And he's just
I
going
guess not.
to walk away. The horse is whinnying nervously. And Faylene, as you finish your staff and you're getting it, basically, standing up, kind of getting ready to go, an uneasy feeling comes over you. You kind of just have a growing unease about the direction of your travel. You can't quite put your finger on why.
Do the horses seem restless just in that they're ready to get moving for the day, or does something specifically seem to be bothering them?
They seem a little bit restless for, like, I don't know, they seem a little more restless than just wanting to get going, almost like they're sensing a kind of tension or unease, maybe. There's something making them nervous.
She'll start looking around kind of north of where they're situated, looking for any signs of like tracks or things that might be in the vicinity.
Roll me a perception check.
Ooh, that's a 9.
Oof.
Oof.
You're kind of looking around. You don't really see anything as you're looking around. Everything seems pretty normal.
Okay. She'll sort of swallow down that sense of unease then as best as she can, and then go back to the horses, giving each of them just sort of a pat on the neck and making sure they are in good health before they start heading out on the road.
You guys would hear the flapping of wings above you as Kerrigan's hawk kind of circles around, and then it starts to kind of shriek, and in kind of the same fashion as when it's alerting to danger or whatever. And then Kerrigan kind of runs out to the middle of the camp and holds up her arm, and the hawk comes and lands on it. And then you would hear her asking, she would be saying an orc, so Booker, you'd understand, but she'd be saying, "What is it, Claw? What is it?" And then she would kind of look around and look confused, and she'd be like, "What's going on? What do you see?" And you see that the hawk is just kind of has its head down, and it's kind of rubbing its head with its wing, kind of acting strange. and she doesn't seem to understand what he's trying to say.
Yeah, Booker hearing that, he's gonna groan and slowly get up. He feeling a little tired since he probably slept in a little late doing the ritual. Right, so something is off. What is it? Yeah, he's gonna go slowly walk over to Kerrigan and say, "What is it?"
Kerrigan's going to say, Claw is sounding an alarm, but he's not pointing anything out to me. I don't think he sees or knows exactly what's wrong, but he seems to sense that something isn't right. Like maybe it's an intruder, or maybe he just got a whiff of something. I don't really know.
So what you're telling me could be either something that cannot be seen or heard, or the threat is magical in a sense, perhaps a presence. We should be wary. Perhaps we should move.
Kerrigan is going to say, I agree. And then she's basically going to kind of shout out to everyone and say, I'm going to scout ahead a little bit. We should get moving. And then she's just going to kind of start her normal jogging kind of pace. Kind of
Yeah, Booker will quickly translate it.
Philin will call back and be like, the horses are acting strange.
And then she'll call back, so is Claw.
Valanthe,
Well, I guess she wouldn't understand you. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That's awkward. Booker.
Philin's pointing.
Yeah, they're pointing. That works.
Yeah, I don't know if she wants to spin. Yeah, she's just gonna keep moving forward and keeping an eye out, making sure nothing too crazy's out there.
All right. Is anyone gonna, Hector? Are you gonna ride Acleos?
Oh, eventually. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just wondering
but
if
Hector at the moment says we'll talk to Lotto and say, yeah, I'm a bit hungry too, mate. Do you reckon there's any small game around here? Something we could quickly catch?
Maybe I can.
You point.
Go
you
out.
Point them out. I can stop them.
He's gonna kind of walk over here and rifle through the bush and just kind of look around. Let me see if I can find anything. Oh, my dice roller isn't working. I have to reload my screen here.
Follow Lotto, just in case.
Oh, you're gonna follow him? Okay.
Yeah, he's a little jumpy at the moment.
Booker is, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-oh, my dice roller isn't working. I'll have to roll my dice analog. Actually, how long would you guys say you're spending before you would get on the road? Like Hector, how long would you give it before you would kind of say to Lotto, all right, we need to get going or something?
Probably 15 minutes or so, unless there's definite signs of tracks around the area.
As he's kind of scrounging around in this wood here, he actually flushes out a pretty big sized rabbit, and it starts to run northward.
As soon as Hector sees it, the shadows sap and sting the rabbit coming up from the trees and the bushes around it, and it hit the rabbit. So a con save 15.
Con save 15. The rabbit fails.
The rabbit is prone and takes 5 necrotic damage.
So the rabbit would go prone. You hear it squeal as it takes the necrotic damage, and then, like with the speed of an athlete, Hector runs up to it, picks it up, it just cracks its neck,
Perfect.
and then he holds it up. Perhaps.
Well, with the 3 rations and that, we should be able to feed most of us.
That actually is true. You could all eat at this point for the 3 rations and the rabbit.
Well, that should last us until we reach the city.
So, Lotto would quickly skin the rabbit and cook it up in relatively fast time. Luna's just hanging out. She's actually petting the horses, trying to calm Eos down.
Eileen will look at Luna and say, "You should ride today."
Are you sure?
Oh, yes. I'm very fast. And you had a long, long journey yesterday.
She kind of smiles and keeps petting the horse.
That transformation, is that your own nature or from your goddess?
She's going to say, that's not from the goddess. That's something I've always been able to do, but I have to have consumed the creature's blood that I want to transform into. So I can transform into some things, but I can really only remember, I guess remember is the best way to describe it. It's like my body only remembers things that I've recently drank blood from. I'm surprised I was able to remember that large cat, because that was from before I met you. So quite a while ago. It gets hard for me to remember after many days.
Is that the cat's a wild animal that lives in this region?
Yeah, I came up on a dead one. Something had killed it.
Well, I think it is an incredible gift, Luna.
Yeah? She kind of her eyes kind of perk up. Her hair is all messed up. She has bed head.
Eileen will kind of smooth her hair out a little bit in a very sisterly sort of way and be like, yes, I think it is incredible that you can be so close to nature and creatures and see the world from their point of view for a little while. I think that must be, I don't know, transcendent, I suppose. Amazing.
She just smiles and keeps petting the horse, and she doesn't really say anything, but you kind of get the sense that your words are making her happy. She's kind of standing a little taller, acting a little bit less anxious, a little more, almost more at home, more comfortable, which is maybe strange to think. Right now the horses are all freaked out. It seems like a tense morning, but she's maybe the most relaxed one of everybody.
Phelan will take out the vials that she had previously taken from Luna. And they don't have blood in them now, but she will hand them over and say, if this ability comes from blood and it is your own, then I think you should have these back.
Oh. She's going to collect the vials, and then almost instantly she's going to turn around and run over to the fire where Lotto had cut up that rabbit, and she's going to kind of take some of the blood out of the snow, a little bit of it, and put it in one of the vials. She's saving one of the vials of rabbit blood. And as she's doing it, you see that she has this just focused fascination with it. She just gets super focused on it.
Yeah, Phelan will just stay near the horses, but sort of watch, and then also if Lotto's going to start cooking, take out the last of the rations from her giant nasty Etton's bag that she's been carrying around and hand them over to.
Oh, okay. Okay, very nice. What was that exactly you handed her? Would you say that one more time? I'm going to write that down.
The 3 deer rations. She'll give them over to Lotto. That's all.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
He starts cooking it all up. Seems to be moving relatively quickly. Seems like he's in a bit of a hurry, which is kind of unusual for him. He doesn't usually hurry his food preparation activities. Wolfram, you should make an investigation check.
All right. A moment.
Doing a bit of investigating into Luna's shape-shifting.
Okay, so I got a 7 plus 8, so 15.
Oh, nice. So, would you say that you were close enough that if they were talking, you might have heard this conversation, Booker?
Well, I mean, according to the Elven Road, he was pretty much right next to them.
Okay, good. In that case, then, if you would have heard this conversation, it sounds like she has some kind of it's like a physical memory aspect to consuming blood of these creatures, and then that seems to inform her ability. Definitely sounds like she, though, forgets it over time, and it doesn't sound like she is super 100% clear on how long she can retain that memory. It seems to be either varied or perhaps somewhat arbitrary, maybe based on, well, who knows, but it does seem to have something to do with the blood intake, and so at this point that's what you would kind of be picking up on, and you would know that by now from hearing a conversation.
Yeah, he's just quickly taking note in case it becomes relevant in the future.
Well, Lotto would finish cooking the food, and he would basically serve it up to everybody, and then he quickly kind of cleans up the campsite and seems to be in a hurry to get moving. Valenthi, you were scouting ahead a bit as well, weren't you? I think.
Yeah, just moving forward and searching up the path to make sure everything is okay, clear to go forward.
As you start, oh wow, there's an echo somewhere. Oh, hello. No, we're good. As you start to move up the road a little bit, or down the path, I should say, rather, you're moving south. If you travel, would you say that you travel ahead 15 minutes? Would you be willing to go that far, kind of?
Yeah, maybe she would probably travel, but that'd be in stealth.
Gotcha. Okay. As she reaches about that 15-minute mark, she starts to catch a whiff of something. She starts to smell what smells like wood smoke, and the wind seems to be coming kind of from the south. So you're kind of smelling something that's ahead on the trail, it would seem. If they had a fire going back at camp, it wouldn't have blown this way, judging by how the wind is blowing.
Oh. Okay. I'll scout out a little bit further then and keep in stealth to check out what it is.
Go ahead and roll a perception check. Actually, perception or survival, whichever's better. This could be a survival check.
Let's see here. Uh, 22.
When you come up over a kind of a small rise, about 20 minutes, south of your camp, you kind of come up over a bit of a ridge, a rise, and suddenly you smell a lot of smoke, and you kind of look out over this large, basically wooded area, or an area that was wooded. You're sort of at the edge of the forest. You guys have been traveling with the forest bordering you basically on the east. And then you have been kind of dipping in and out of the forest as was convenient. Like, for example, you guys kind of camped in a wooded area last night. Although part of the day yesterday, like partway through, you kind of broke away from the wood line. We're traveling over more open territory, but it seems like you've come upon another bit of woodland. But this woodland is cleared out, and you see that there are just stumps of trees, and the stumps are kind of like burning, like they've been recently cleared. And you see a bunch of fallen trees stacked up on fire. And basically, it looks like this part of the area has been cleared, like quite a bit, like several acres. And you see that there are tracks, horse tracks. It looks like the snow has been really disturbed. The stumps are not like burning with fire, but they're smoldering, like they were perhaps, burnt some time ago, but they haven't quite gone out yet. So very recently. And you smell a lot more smoke now that you're looking out over the area, but you also see the beginnings of what looks like kind of a road, an actual road leading south.
Interesting. Okay. I'll try to stealth and check it out a little bit closer while everybody's getting ready, and see if I find anything else. If there's any other movements or people, and try to check out the road.
Very good. Kerrigan is with you. She's going to say to you in Giant, this wasn't like this before. This wasn't here last time I was here. This was a forest last time I was here.
And say, perhaps they are building. And she'll look at the road. Destroying forest in order to build roads. Do you think it might be the people from the fort?
She's like, who else could it be? The giants wouldn't do this. The orcs wouldn't do this.
Well, I suppose we have to go there pretty quickly so I can accomplish what I need to accomplish. And it seems that we might be able to follow this road. But
When I mentioned road, like it kind of looks like basically, so there's snow on everything, right? And some places the rock kind of juts up out of the snow, but it looks like there's been so much traffic on this one straight swath of land that kind of originates in the middle of that burned down forest area. It looks like though it's been so used that you can kind of see it, like the snow has been basically worn down and beaten down, and it looks kind of like a road. From here, you don't know what it's made of. Like you don't know if there's rock underneath it or if it's gravel or dirt, but it's mostly the shape of the snow, and it just looks like kind of like the beginnings of a road.
So she'll say, maybe we'll keep to the side of it. Keep to the side and follow it to the south. See what people are doing this. See what purpose they are to us.
Kerrigan is going to nod, and she's going to send Claw up in the sky, and then she's going to follow you. Now, meanwhile, back at camp, what would you guys like to do?
I think Booker is pretty much ready to move and leave camp. I don't know about everyone else.
Luna, as soon as she's done eating, she goes over to Eos and pets Eos and kind of whispers to him, and then she goes to jump up on him to ride him. Let's see if she does good. Oh, she rolled good. She jumps up. He almost kind of shakes her off a little bit, but she's able to hang on. She kind of like hangs on for dear life at first, but then she gets a little more comfortable, and then he just like whinnies and starts basically trotting south. Not at a fast pace, but at a pace fast enough that Luna kind of has to hold on for dear life. it would seem that she's not very used to riding yet, especially not being the rider. There's no one to hold on to,
Fair enough.
and there's no saddle.
Yeah, I think Booker will put out the fire and pick up Luminode. The campfire.
How about you, Hector? What do you do?
Well, Hector's just eating what's left of his breakfast, and we'll mount up and head off as soon as everyone else moves.
Booker, before you are able to basically, I mean, you barely get done with the fire, and then you turn around and you see Luminode standing right there, and he just like holds his hands up expectantly.
He shakes his head and with a little smile says, "All right, come on." And he crouches down and picks him up and puts him on his shoulder.
He's going to climb up on your shoulder.
Faline rolls her eyes and scoffs and is just like, ugh, I can't believe we literally have to carry that thing around.
It's a fascinating contraption. And he's not happy.
He's a spy.
Isn't what?
Luminode is going to look at you guys like as you're talking, exchanging words. He's always watching the person who's talking and doesn't say anything as per usual.
Well, he was a spy, but then apparently he's been, I don't know, transformed. He's weird. That's what he is.
Interesting.
Lotto is going to shake his head when he hears this conversation going on as he's thrown his gear in his pockets, whatever gear he has, and then he's going to say, Kelf made the decision to sacrifice what magic he had left, or not Kelf, it'd be Soul. Soul made the decision to sacrifice what connection he had left to his god, and he allegedly broke the creature's bond with its master. How true this is, I can't say. I believe Soul said the bond was broken, but Soul's not here now, and, well, it makes me nervous.
Well, I'll have to take your word for it. I'll be careful.
All right, so sounds like you guys are about ready to head out. Luna kind of rides up ahead very fast, and then she doesn't really seem to mean to, and then you hear her saying things like, whoa, slow down. But she remains on the horse's back without further incident. Now you guys would start to travel, and you wouldn't get very far before you reach, a point where you start to smell a little bit of wood smoke in the air. And it definitely isn't from your campfire, because you notice that you're kind of walking into the wind. But we're going to go back to Valenti. Valenti, we're going to pick up. You had about another 20 minutes to scout. So go ahead and tell me what you would have been doing.
Just pretty much just watching and looking at the road, investigating it, try to get as close as I can to make sure there's no other dangers.
So what it is you're kind of up on a ridge, and when I say ridge, I guess it's more of like a hill. But you could go down the hill. If you did leave the hill, though, you'd be kind of walking into the open. With that being said, you don't see anyone around. Would you like to go down the hill to the road, which is kind of now in the open with this forest removed? There's not very many hiding places.
I will. From this vantage point, I see nothing at all.
No, you don't see any any people or animals or anything. With the exception of actually, there is one thing you do see. You see that there are there's a large flock of some kind of birds, and they look sort of like pigeons, but they're roosting in a big fallen down tree that's kind of laying down there. A lot of the trees, it seems they were cut down and stacked up into these intermittent piles, like, basically land clearing. And you see that there is one particular tree. It is the closest one to you, or pile of trees. But there's one big tree on this pile, and there's like 3 dozen of these birds in that tree. And you see that there are no birds in any other trees that are laying on the ground, and that's the only living thing you see in your range of vision.
And would I be able to see how far there's any at this elevation? Like if it's in a hill, could I see
Oh yeah, you can see
the
quite a ways.
going to see the outline of a fort or anything like that?
Not from here.
Okay.
The smoke from the smoldering stumps of trees actually kind of obscures your vision a little bit, trying to see through that area. There's a bit of a smog clinging to the ground.
I will just look at Kerrigan and tell her, "Go ahead and wait for the others. I'll scout ahead."
She's going to say, "Be careful."
And she'll nod and she'll go down the hill and investigate around the area before the others arrive, I suppose, and leave Kerrigan there to tell them where she's at.
So as you venture down, the first thing you reach would be the what would have been the tree line, but now the stumps have been cut down to about waist high or a little lower at points. And I might actually show you a picture of kind of what it looks like. This isn't 100% accurate. The trees are actually cut like there's not that many trees standing up, but this kind of gives you a bit of the vibe of what it looks like.
Oh, okay.
Just like basically land clearing and burnt stumps and partially burnt stacks of wood, though not all those stacks of wood, it seems like, have been lit. But as you get closer, you see that the ones kind of further to the south have been lit. So it looks like the land clearing was kind of headed north, and you've just reached the northern part of it. The first thing you notice when you go down there is that there are footprints everywhere, and they are human footprints, like boots, like humanoids in boots. I mean, footprints everywhere. By your estimation, at least a dozen, maybe more. You don't find really anything other than you see the remains of a campfire, and you actually find some like scraps of meat. Like it looks like a meal was cooked here. Just kind of like trail ration meal. And there's kind of some refuse from that scattered around the campsite, actually a bit carelessly. Like you think to yourself, wow, this would attract animals. Like you'd want to just throw your leftover food around. And then the road itself, when you get to it, you do see, in fact, that it seems to be a road that is mostly just in the snow, but there are actually wagon indentations like in the snow, and the ground beneath is frozen. But even so, you can kind of see that the wagons even kind of made an imprint on the ground. So like large wagons and a lot of traffic, like wagons rolled over this very end of the road, which seems to be the northernmost part of it, many times in the last, who knows, enough times that a packed dirt kind of like wagon road is beginning to naturally form.
Okay.
And
well, then
it looks
she'll
like the tracks of the animals pulling the wagons, it's hard to say, but you think they're oxen.
Okay. Well, then I'll go ahead and wait for the rest of the group and head back up.
Okay. So as you start to head back up there, I mean, you almost get back to Kerrigan when you see the others kind of like crest over the hill. You see first Eos being ridden by Luna, and then the others are very, very close behind. And as you guys get there, I mean, you look out and you see this scene that I've been describing for Valentine. And the minute you all see this, actually, Faylene, your character just like, I mean, I don't know how it would strike her, but she realizes she's seen this before. Like she has actually seen this before in her vision. Like the scene matches, to an uncanny, to a point where she actually gets deja vu when she sees it.
Baylene's jaw would drop and she would look out with just like horror and anger. And I think she'd like need to lean on her staff a little bit for support. And then I don't know if anybody's walking nearby, maybe Booker.
Mm-hmm.
She would just say out loud, why would anyone do this?
I would imagine it would be either two things. The first, and most mundane, would be to clear the area for either building or farming. There could be more insidious explanations, however.
Would an army clear it for building or farming?
Well, I'm not exactly very experienced with military tactics, but I could see it.
I
It
saw
would make
this
sense.
place, and when I saw it in my head, it was full of soldiers.
And when did you see this place? Was it a vision, or were you here before?
I've never been here before. I saw it in, I suppose you could call it a vision. Yes, a vision, like a dream. But I don't understand. It's horrible.
I understand. And have you had any other visions? Perhaps they're connected.
Yes. I had one when you appeared in the light. It was of a little boy.
Interesting. Well, perhaps we should discuss that further when we have more time. Right now, if you think that an army was here recently, perhaps this is not the safest place to have a lengthy discussion like this. I wonder.
You're probably right. This is
So,
barbaric, and she'll just keep walking.
who do you think are scouting companions are about? I would imagine they would stick out of sight, perhaps at the edge of the forest, at least the part that isn't burned and cut.
Feline would nod and start to trail that way towards the tree line.
You would hear Lotto remark, and it didn't seem like Lotto heard your conversation with Booker, because he was a little bit behind you guys and was kind of trudging up the hill loudly. But then when he'd see it, he'd say, "Oh, thank goodness, a sign of civilization. Is that a road? Thank the gods." And he's just going to start marching down the hill toward the clearing.
Feline will just shoot him a dirty look over her shoulder.
Anyway, so Valenti, you are now reunited with the rest of the group. Would you like to continue on with them, or are you going to scout more ahead?
She will whoever she reaches first, probably Kerrigan, and then the rest, Luna maybe. I don't know who's going to be there first, but
Luna's definitely out in front of the group, and it seems like what she does is ride ahead of them, and then Eos just kind of rides in a zigzag pattern, running fast but making up less time. Seems like he's enjoying the running.
And she'll go up to Luna and it's like, Luna. And wave her
Yeah,
over.
she kind of calls as she rides past you on Eos, and Eos just kind of starts riding around you in a circle. You're getting the sense that she's not actually controlling where he goes. She's just like hanging on.
I say, well, we've hit this burnt forest. I believe it might be some population from the fort. It might be dangerous. And she looks over at Eos. I wonder if I can have Eos. Maybe if it can give me a ride to scout out ahead while the rest of the group follows and tracks behind.
So Eos would kind of ride over towards you and just basically put his hooves down and slide to a stop. She almost gets thrown over his head. Let's see if she can stay on. She does, actually. She almost goes right over his head. And then you see him like flip his mane, and you 100% get the idea that that was intentional. Like he was trying to throw her off. But she kind of slides off onto the ground, and she kind of gives you this like goofy grin, and you see she's walking kind of bow-legged, like her legs are sore. But then she hands over Eos to you, basically.
And Valencia will wait for the rest of the group, but she looks over at Eos and says, "Hello, Eos. I'm Valanthe. I hope I can work together to go and try to scout up ahead. Make sure that the group will be safe."
Roll a handle animal check with
Handle animal
with advantage.
All right. $23.
Oh yeah. So as you're talking about this, Eos kind of just like starts like pushing your arm with his nose, kind of like pushing your arm upward.
And Valanthe will smile, and she will jump up on the horse since she's kind of used to horses in her farm.
When she does, she just feels him just like basically preparing to just take off and run.
And she'll look over at Kerrigan. "Tell him I went ahead to scout. Make sure that we don't run into anything too dangerous."
She's going to say, "I will, but be careful." She's going to be like, "Claw, go with her." And then she's going to let the hawk go, and it's going to kind of fly into the sky and kind of circle around where you are, basically.
All right, so yeah, that's what I'll be doing, waiting for the rest of the group. But knowing that they're coming down, since I'll probably see Lotto coming down, I'm gonna try to scout ahead with Eos as far as I can, and if I see anything strange, I'll probably come back.
All right. So you would go riding off ahead. If you ride off ahead, you start. Are you kind of riding along the road, basically?
I mean, how there's no place to hide here if we're going south.
Well, there are those piles of trees, so there are places now and then. Every 100 feet or so, there's a big pile of trees. But no, there is. You've kind of entered wide open flat territory. And
I'm just gonna. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say you don't know how big this little patch of wood is that you entered, but this part of it is really clear to the point where you can't hide yourself, and you're not quite sure what it would look like a quarter mile down the road, but your visibility is a little hindered.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and scout ahead then, as far as I can. If I see anything, I'll probably turn back.
So when you go scouting, if you go would you go a quarter of a mile? Like, would you scout that far ahead, or would you even go further, like a half mile?
I would go pretty far until I because if I'm in Ales, I can just ride back. So I'll go until I can see anything that might be. I could go up to where I would be able to return within an hour, even if there's nothing else.
Oh, okay. So
just making sure that everything is clear for them. So I figured if anything is clear for them, because I'm ahead, that's what I'm going to do. I'll scout ahead until I'll figure about an hour or so, and then return back. So almost 2 hours, I guess, there and back.
Okay. All right. Very good. So you take off riding, and it takes you a little bit of time to kind of get through these trees, but you see that it seems to be very widespread, the trees being taken down. It's all the same stumps left, but they're smoldering and burning. The trees piled up on either side of the road. If you ride about a mile, you come to what seems to be the edge of what was this little kind of patch of forest, and you enter just another wide open territory. When you get here, there's actually a road sign, and it looks relatively new, and it's basically a carved wood road sign with an arrow pointing north along the road. And if you read it, it reads Northern Imperial Road.
Huh. Does it have anything else pointing to the south?
There is actually no markings going south, but you do see that only the top half of the sign is carved and the bottom half is not carved. So it almost looks like there's a place for that, but it wasn't carved out. And it looks brand new. Like,
Imperial.
I mean, it even smells freshly hewn, like the lumber.
Would I remember like anything with the Imperial word from any of my memory from them talking to about the fort? I can't remember.
No, you actually have not heard. I don't think you've heard any reference to anything sounding like Empire or Imperial at all. Not that I can recollect.
Interesting. All right. In that case, yeah, I'll just keep going ahead until I see anything. And I guess I'm hoping they're following behind, but yeah, that's what I'll be doing. Pretty much going as far as I can until I see anything within that hour, and then I will turn back. Because if it's a mile, I'm pretty sure I would get there within 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, it's on Eos, you're moving quite fast.
Yeah.
So if you ride another mile, you actually come across an interesting thing. It's like a small wooden shack to the left. It's on the left side of the road. There are wagon marks going up to it and away from it. It's like very small. It's about a 10 by 10 shed made of rough lumber. And the doors, there are two doors that are closed, but it looks brand new. Like it's not old. It's like freshly hewn. There's a hitching post, actually 2 hitching posts out in front of it. And you see that there is actually a pile of wood stacked over to the side. It looks like freshly cut wood. And you see that there's a chimney going out the top of it, like a very small, actually, like a rock chimney on the side, on the opposite side from where the wood is stacked. There is no smoke coming out of it right now, but you just come across this, what looks like a brand new little building to the left.
Okay. I'm trying to think. So at this point, how far are we from the fort, would you say?
At this point, you would think to yourself, maybe at the rate you're going, a couple of hours travel.
Okay. Because we've traveled a few days then, because from my map that you drew me, it was around 100 to 120 or something. Best guess.
Yeah.
Best guess. Okay.
But
so we're almost okay. So we're over here. So that means that the forest is toward if we're going south, is toward our left, and to our right. We don't know what was to the right. To the right is like patches of forest then.
At least some.
That were burnt.
Well, yeah, this one is, but this is the second like patch of forest you've come across in what seems to be otherwise open territory. So that might be a thing that happens sometimes.
I would probably stay there for a little while and then maybe grab some ash from trees and note the cabin and jot it down on my map that I've been jotting stuff down on.
Ah, nice. Okay.
I don't know if you would want to update that whenever you want, but yeah, that's what I would do right now because I don't want to get too much further ahead from the group. And
are you going to go into this little building?
Interesting. Sounds ominous. I'll take Eos a little bit closer. Scout it out, maybe see if there's living? Who's there?
If you take Eos closer, Eos just kind of walks over there and sniffs around. Claw is flying above you, but actually lands on the chimney, and you kind of see him just up there. He's not sounding an alarm or anything. You do
Okay.
see him poke his head in the chimney, and then he just kind of pulls it out, and he just is looking around with his eagle eye, hawk eyes, but he does not sound any alarm.
I'll keep my hand on my scimitar as I slide off Eos and tell him, keep a good lookout for me, will you? And Heather, you said there was windows or any kind of windows? I'll look through the windows. If there's
Actually,
any.
there's no windows, only a
Oh, okay.
double swinging door that's made of rustic lumber, but there are metal hinges, very nice metal hinges, like very modern.
Okay. I will see if it's unlocked. Maybe check for traps first, but
Yeah, roll a quick perception check.
okay. Let me see. My perception is 16.
You don't see any evidence of traps, and the door is not locked. It has like actually a relatively normal looking kind of just wooden bar across it that you would slide open to open it. Kind of like you would find on a barn, not on a house.
Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and peek in and see if I see anything of
So
interest.
you would kind of slide over the thing and then pop the door open. And with that, we're going to cut scenes really quick and go back to the group as they are following.
I uploaded the map and put a little red dot to see if that's where we're at. So, but with that, I'll be right back.
All right. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, I think on the way, Booker will want to will want to collect the ashes and inspect them. He wants to compare them to the ashes. I believe it was Broden had showed him that he had investigated that showed clues of being ashes from like an ancient dragon's breath weapon or something similar.
Yes.
Yeah, he wants to compare them
to the ashes that you find in the
forest.
Yeah. Roll me a. Oh, let's see.
Hector's doing something similar. He is very much wondering why all these trees are burning, why the logs are burning. So he is looking for an attack or something that has happened and set everything on fire.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Booker's looking for clues, but he's focusing on the ash.
So, as you are looking at these logs, I'm trying to think. I would say, Booker, you should roll either an investigation check, or you could roll actually an Arcana check, because you're kind of doing a little bit of. It's a little bit like alchemy, a little bit. And then Hector, you should roll either an investigation or a perception, I would say, whichever is better.
Oh, I'm going to use my inspiration. I got that too.
Very good. Okay. Go for it.
Okay, 19 plus 7 from investigation. Oh, no, plus 8 for investigation.
Gotcha.
So that's a natural 20 on
it's a 20. It's a 27.
Would you like me to combine what you guys find into kind of one thing, or do you want me to split them apart? Actually, I'm going to split them apart because they're slightly different. Okay, Booker, first I'm going to describe what you find. When you're kind of looking at the ash and the refuse of the fires, you realize that there is not the same alchemical properties that you found in that supposed dragon breath weapon ash. However, there is something a bit unnatural. you don't think that this was just fire. Something alchemical caused this fire, like all these fires. And actually, Hector sees that there are blast marks on the trees. Like fire was basically spewed or blasted at these trees at a very high velocity, and it seemed to almost have a blowtorch effect. And that's very consistent across these trees. Like, I mean, they didn't just light some fire and try to burn the stumps. They were blasting the stumps, and they're still smoldering because this likely happened last night, and they just haven't quite stopped smoldering yet. And they're continuing to burn a little bit. And you realize, actually, this would be Hector who realizes this. You realize that they're burning, but they're kind of burning still from inside. Like they're slowly burning down the stump. Seems to be that even though they probably would have gone out by now, they haven't gone out, and they're just slow burning until probably the stump completely burns away. And there is also a very like when you get really close to the stumps, you smell kind of smell a very unique smell. It's like you would, and Booker, you would notice this too, getting close to the stumps. You know, it doesn't smell so unlike, you know, you've probably been around things like people have made kind of like alchemical bombs, you know, like, you know, mixing things together, make liquids that instead of extinguishing fire, they light on fire. Not like oil, like, but I'm talking about like alchemical mixtures of exploding combustible liquids. You're kind of smelling that. So that's what you guys discover as you're investigating the stumps. Faylene, while they're investigating, what would you like to do?
She would be walking along, looking very uncomfortable and angry. I mean, are these stumps rather large? Like, does this look like kind of like an old growth forest?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them are as big as actually like 2 feet, 3 feet wide. There aren't actually very many that are much bigger than 3 feet. That'd be about the biggest. And there aren't that many of those, but there are some.
I think as she goes along, she's just gonna keep casting like frostbite on the flames and ray of frost to try to put out as many smoldering fires as she can.
Whenever she does this, she kind of hears a sizzling, like it's still really hot, the stumps. And then, you know, the frost kind of goes over and stops the burning. But every time you cast it on one of these things, you hear a sizzling sound. And you kind of think to yourself, man, how long have they been burning? Like, you know, I mean, they weren't on fire this morning, it seems. Why are they still smoldering like this? It seems kind of unnatural.
And then you said there's a lot of footprints.
There are, yes.
Can I tell about how long, like how old they are, how fresh they are?
Yeah, definitely. Probably yesterday, last night. Doesn't look to you like anyone who's been here today, but they're very fresh.
Yeah, that's just what she's doing as she's going along, and she's staying in the back again, where she's more comfortable and just really, really doing this with some aggression as she follows Hector and Booker around.
Roll me a perception check as you're walking around and you know, looking at these stumps, looking at the tracks.
That is a 14.
14, okay. At one point, you come across kind of a big pile of trees stacked up, and you see a bit of movement under one of the logs, and you hear some scratching.
Can I tell what kind of creature might be doing the scratching?
It's very small, whatever it is, but it seems to be hiding under a log, and you just hear some scratching.
She'll kind of creep forward, stop, listen, creep forward a little more, and then just get as close and peer into the pile as much as she can.
As she gets closer, she hears little sounds, like little rodent-like, kind of like whimpers, and then she looks and she sees a rabbit, a white rabbit, but the whole left half of its body looks just scorched. I mean, like it's just the skin is just hanging off of it. Its eye is burnt out. That its face is all drooping down. The ear is just gone, just like burnt off on that side, and it's under there just like scraping, and it seems to be whimpering in pain as it's laying there from like these massive burns across the left half of its body. And this is kind of bizarre because a rabbit wouldn't just like jump into the fire and get burned. Like something hit it with like, maybe a spell or something.
Oh.
Whatever hit it though is like stronger than like a scorching ray for sure. Is a pretty bad burn.
Is it far enough that like if Faline was fast, she could grab it or hit it?
It's very close. You can reach right down there.
Seeing how badly it's injured, she's gonna just like slowly take that dagger that I can hopefully now open and look at. But she'll take the dagger and then, just as fast as she can, reach in a hand and just like try to kill it really quickly and put it out of its misery.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even aware that you're there. It seems to be nearly delirious with pain, but you put it out of its misery and it stops whimpering. When you unsheath the dagger, it would impart to you its abilities. Do you still have those? Did I send you?
I'll read them.
Okay. But you would hear those abilities. The knife kind of imparts to you what it does.
Okay. Faline will think about that later. For now, she's gonna just take the rabbit and just sort of cradle it, close its eyes, and smooth down its fur.
Then, it's just there. It's a really rough looking sight. Very violent wounds, and something like I said, like. The burns are so bad. You find yourself wondering, man, how could this have happened? Like, I mean, short of someone hitting it with a fireball, what even happened to this thing? But anyway.
Yeah, she'll put it in her bag and she'll pack it with ice because at least, it can provide some nourishment and sustenance. But she's very upset as she does this.
Yeah. Now, we're going to go back to Hector and Booker. You have completed your investigations. What would you like to do next?
Hector is following the road. He's comfortable with roads. Being from the Shadow Realm, roads are safety. So for him, it is a big thing finding a road. He heads straight for it and catches up with Lotto on the road and starts walking down the road with him. Oh, riding down the road with Lotto walking next to him.
Yeah. Basically continuing onward.
Yeah.
How about you, Booker? Anything special you can do?
I mean, Booker would also like to stay on the road. He's also a little more comfortable being on something that shows a little more advanced civilization. He would be like taking notes and like comparing things and try to maybe like casually connect, pondering if he could maybe connect some dots or not. But he's like doing something casually. So like he's like maybe muttering like in a low voice like chance of alchemical explosives. Doesn't seem to be from a dragon. Signs of Phelan's visions of an army here, and he's just like pondering things.
Gotcha. So Are you going to continue? Like, are you going to go ahead and catch up with them, or like? I guess the question is, how far apart are you guys when you are traveling? Are you kind of dispersing a bit, or are you staying pretty close to the group together?
Booker is staying close to Hector and Lotto.
Faylene would always stay within like line of sight, like 60 to 80 feet in the back from whoever's the furthest behind.
Okay. Let's go back to Valenti. Valenti, you were opening that door.
Yeah.
You swing the door open, well, or rather peek inside, as you were saying. And when you peek inside, you actually see something interesting. You see on the inside, there is no snow. There's just actually rock on the ground. But you see that there's a big pile of like wooden planks over in the corner, like that have been cut but have not been used yet, like two really tall stacks of them. And then you see that there are some sacks, like canvas bags, over in another corner, and they're just kind of laying over there. And then you see that there's the beginnings of a hole being dug in the middle of the ground here. It's about 6 foot in diameter, and it's about, at this point, about 3 foot down.
Huh.
It's rather circular, and it's actually quite a precise looking hole that's being dug. But at this point, it's only 3 feet down. And you do see that there is a fireplace over on the right hand side. And it's quite big, but it's very rustic. This does not look like an interior that was designed for looks, more like a shed or something like that. There's like no furniture in there.
Huh. All right. More like a working thing, huh?
It does look like
She'll scout around for any kind of tracks.
there are tracks actually leading all around this thing, inside, outside. On the inside, you'll notice there's no snow in there. There's just the ground. Looks like the snow was probably melted or something.
Could she ascertain what would be the most recent tracks? Like how long ago somebody was here?
Yeah, roll a survival check.
All right. 12.
She would guess maybe 24 hours ago.
Okay. Other than that, she just see if she can see anything interesting to decipher what all this is about and what's going on here. Would
you like to make any checks or do anything specific, or just kind of?
Yeah, I guess she's just investigating. She's just looking about, trying to decipher what it is. See if she can
roll a quick investigation check.
Let's see if I can. Investigation. Ew. Oh wow, that's a nat 20. 21.
Oh, nat 20. Is she gonna go inside around?
Yeah.
So if she goes inside and starts looking around, if she looks in those canvas bags, she finds some kind of gray powdery substance. And she would also notice that inside this hole that they're digging, there seems to be a pile of stones beginning in the middle, like kind of like largish stones. They're being set in the middle. And then they've actually started making a pile of stones kind of off to the side as well, like quite a big pile over by the lumber. Valenti would ascertain from her nat 20 that they're digging a well. And they're planning to line the well with stones they find. And that powder she found in the sacks seems to be some kind of alchemical compound. I'm not sure if they have this kind of thing in Valenti's world where she came from, but it's kind of the equivalent of like an alchemical concrete mix.
Yeah, probably something similar to that. Okay.
And so that, but there's no tools here. It seems like whoever was working here, they had quite precise tools, probably pickaxes, shovels, prying equipment, good digging tools, but they have taken them with them. But the most recent signs of digging were literally probably yesterday, like less than 24 hours ago. In fact, the ashes in the fireplace would indicate that there has been a fire in there within the last day.
Okay. And then she would go back outside and just how far? So she was going to travel pretty far. So I don't know how far she is from the group.
So at this point, she would have been about this would have been about, I think, 45 minutes ride from the group. So
that's
not,
pretty quick.
Not super far. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, she'll stay there. She'll actually just sit cross-legged, and then she'll start praying, and more still first, but then she'll see if she can reach Prunir, the great bear.
You should roll a religion check.
Religion. Let's see how she does in this one. 12.
As you are praying to, you say it was Morthil, the first one?
Yeah, first Morthil, then Prunir would be the one that she would try to.
Would you describe what Valenthi would kind of normally expect when she prays to Morthil? Like, what's her usual experience like? I mean, on a typical kind of thing. Typical, but significant. Like, when significant things are happening and she prays, what is her typical experience?
Well, Morthil is quite a quiet god until something earth-shaking happens. But for the most part, she just feels more of a sense of, I wouldn't say serenity, but calmness. The presence is what is felt when people usually pray in times of conflict or trying to figure things out. He doesn't really say words or anything. It's just more of a presence. The only time he reveals himself is in extreme situations, and that's very rare. So yeah, most of the time she just feels like ease and calm and presence lingering about to, pretty much just calm her down.
So at this point, you would feel a presence, but it feels very faint and very weak. Not weak as in, oh, it's a weak presence of Morthil, but more like it's a strong reaction, but you're very, very far away from it, like kind of weak. And Valenthi would get this very strong sense of great separation.
Okay.
And then she would hear a noise. And she would hear this growling sound coming from behind the little well house. And then she hears this large stomping, and a massive polar bear comes walking, just sauntering around the side of the well house.
She looks over and says, same one that she recognizes, correct?
She has seen this before, but before it was in more of a spectral form. This looks very real. Almost immediately, Claw just shrieks and takes off into the air and starts circling. And then Eos, just like as if startled, goes back on his hind legs. I mean, just whinnies and then just like bolts, kind of like not away, but over kind of behind you. And then like kind of comes behind you and then just like stops right behind you and then quickly headbutts you in the back, as if to say, quick, get on.
And Valencia
It
will
was like
just
the two
pat him.
animals were super startled. Okay, go ahead. What's that?
She'll just pat him and says, "It's all right. I know him. It'll be fine. I called him." And she'll look back up and say, "Pernier."
And then he'll just look at you, and then you hear this like growl deep in his throat, and then he'll open his mouth and speak to you. They're coming north. They're bringing their fire and their chemicals and their smoke and death with them.
And she'll look and says, "They are associated with Byra as well."
She joined them.
"I wish to help this land, but I will require some help from you at least. I will first go to the fort and help a creature escape."
He's going to say, there's a creature in the fort that represents hope for this whole land. If you could free it, you would do us a great service. If you truly want to help this land, do not let them take it south.
And say, "I will not. I will stop them, and I will free him. I will free this beast. In return, I only ask one thing. When the time comes, I wish to unite the orcs and the other people that fight against this army. But I know they won't listen to me without some sort of proof. Some sort of value, perhaps. As Kerrigan has explained, they usually don't like people from the south. Would you do this for me?"
He is going to say, if you do as you say, and you free this creature, you save it, I will help you. I will come when the call is made. And then he would take some steps closer to you, his massive frame sauntering, the snow crunching under his huge claws. And I mean, he's just like so huge. I mean, like he towers above you, even bigger than a normal polar bear. And he would walk up to you, and Eos is just losing his mind. He's whinnying, he's stomping the ground. He's like, he wants to run, but he doesn't want to run without you, it seems. Claw is just freaking out up on top of the building. This bear is actually, its back is taller than the building is tall. But then he would say, I think, how would he word it? If you do this, not only will you prove that you are with us, but you will greatly anger our enemy. You might be signing your death.
Well, I suppose sometimes people have to die for justice. But either way, in this harsh land, depending on which side we pick, seems that death is around every corner. But I'd rather be on the side of good and die for that instead of evil.
He's gonna reach out a big paw, and you see this shimmering light. You see this shimmering light kind of appear in his paw, and he would reach out towards you, and it was like he's kind of reaching towards your forehead. I mean, Eos is just losing his absolute mind. He is headbutting you, trying to get you to run. But are you going to let the bear touch your forehead?
Yeah. I try to calm Eos down. "It's all right, buddy. It's all right." And yeah, I'll let him.
he is going to give you. He's going to give you an instance of the commune spell.
Hmm.
And then he's going to say, "This will, thus far, you and many with you have proven to care about this place and the lives within it. This I give you as a sign that you are not alone." And you get the sense that, commune basically says you contact the deity or divine proxy and ask up to 3 questions that can be answered with yes or no. However, this version of commune is slightly more powerful. And when you cast this version of it, basically at least an avatar version of Bjornir will appear. So you can actually summon him there with this version of commune. So it's sort of like you could use it you could use it however you deem necessary, but that's what he gives you. And then he would say, "You must understand something about this place. This is not like your world, not likely. Great care was taken when Regenesis was born to keep the gods from being able to oppress mortals. The gods here are not as strong as you might expect, and are not always allowed to intervene in the ways you might expect. There are many rules, many treaties, many agreements that bind us. It is mortals who must fight these wars and these battles. Mortals chosen by the gods. But there is a danger of this balance being unstabilized. This is what we fight against."
Valentia was asking,
Is it this dragon wishes to unbalance things? This dragon, I've seen in my vision. This dragon has some sort of association with this dragonborn.
The winds tell of a dragon to the south. The oldest, the most ancient, who has done the forbidden and decided to become the god of the mortals. And then he kind of looks over at the shed, the well house, and says, "And he is coming for us."
Oh, we will need a powerful force to fight back then. I will do my best, but I will save this beast, as I already promised you and I promised Mr. Reelan.
The good news is, if you can cast his minions from this land, he will be very unlikely to follow. We have a chance to stop this war before it begins. But we're running out of time.
And she nods. Well then, I suppose I need to make it to the fort as quickly as possible. Away from my friends, and we shall head there.
And then suddenly this mighty blast of wind just whips across the land, and so much so that it blows snow all over Valenthi, to the point where she can't, she's blinded for a moment. And then as quick as it happens, it's gone. And then she looks around, and there's no sign of the polar bear.
and she looks over at Eos, smiles at him and says,
See, Told you everything would be fine.
And pets him.
He snorts and shakes his head at you, as if to say maybe something like, "What the heck? What are you thinking?" Chewing you out a little bit, maybe.
Says, yeah, I know. Bears can be dangerous, but sometimes could have a little danger in your life in order to move forward.
And pets him again and starts jumping up on him. And at this point, she's waiting for the group. So
So
kind of linger around.
it wouldn't be too long before the group comes along. So Faylene, Hector, and Booker, and the others, you make your way southward, and eventually, kind of like I described for Valenthi, you would kind of reach the end of that wooded section, but all of it was taken down. And then only about 15 minutes beyond that, you reach this little well house along the road, and Faylene is there, sitting out in front of the well house. Or I'm sorry, not Faylene, Valenthi. And you are all reunited.
Alien, as they approached, would look at the house and say something like, "Is that a what do you guys call it? A place where you rest? A inn?"
Lotto's going to say, "I think it's an outhouse." He's going to walk over there and open the door. He's going to say, "Yep, it's an outhouse."
What is an outhouse?
It's a place where it's a place where you go to the bathroom so that you don't put your refuse in the road for people to step in.
Interesting.
Valanthi will say,
No, I think they were just a shelter to create a well, from what I gathered.
she'll tell everybody.
Oh.
Interesting.
Lotto's going to say, "Looks like they've got a while to go. Not very deep yet."
Valenthi says, yes. I'm glad everybody made it safely. This is all I found so far. But I suppose that the Southern Imperial Army is making their way here, at least from
She looks over at Kerrigan.
the Great Bear told me.
Kerrigan's going to kind of come forward with her eyes wide. She's like, "You saw him? He spoke to you?"
Yes, I called him. I needed some information. And possibly a way to unite them in the future as far as your people and maybe other clans around this land. We're going to have a large force in order to make sure that this evil is vanquished from here. But I need his help. And whatever beast is in the fort, he also needs him free.
Kerrigan is going to... She's going to walk over and look around. And you guys see, I mean, all of you, if you look around a little bit, you see these monstrous bear tracks in the snow. I mean, all of you. I mean, it'd be very obvious if you look around at all. And Kerrigan would like kneel down, and you would see her kind of like take off her mask, and you'd see her kind of lay her face down in the snow and hear her mutter a quiet prayer. And then she would sit up and act kind of excited, and she would put her mask on and she'd say, "We will succeed. Bjornir is looking out for us. He's the great bear of protection. And if he's with us, well, our enemies cannot win."
Valenthi will look over and says,
Well, not necessarily. We can't have blind faith. We have to make sure that we don't do anything too reckless. But I'm sure we will win, given the right path and strategies.
and she'll look at everybody else and says,
Is everyone ready to go to the fort? I believe it's about 2 hours away now. We should be there shortly.
Well, we could wait here for them to come to us. This looks fresh. I think the workers will be back.
Yes, yeah, I'd rather not wait. I do have something to do in the fort. As quickly as possible. Associated with my promise I made for that disease.
Just to refresh my mind. What is this promise exactly?
I don't think I told anyone else, but there's a beast inside the fort. When I was talking to Tika, she showed her true form. Mytherylin. And she told me what was going on around the lands, and she promised, or I promised her that I would save this creature, and she healed me. So it's a promise that I must keep. Tika was just an aspect. Not the actual form of a creature, but just an aspect of Mytherylin.
Right. Right. So you talk to this spirit. They ask you to release this creature. Anything else? You two were talking about. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with the language you two were talking. And
Just Perineer is one of the gods they worship. I just summoned him in order to ask for advice. But he also says that this creature should be saved. It will help this land.
Did they say what kind of creature it is?
They have not revealed that to me.
well,
They did give me some advice for a caged cart. Metal, I suppose. And the animal may be making noises or maybe crying out loud. I should be able to find it. If I can.
Probably cursing everything around it. It's a fae trapped. It won't be making animal noises.
Hector, as you're having this conversation with them and you're saying these things, you happen to be. Are you still on the horse, or have you dismounted for the?
Yeah, no, still on the horse.
While you're
Won't
on
get
the
off
horse,
till it gets to the town.
the horse kind of shakes his head kind of randomly, and you see something strange. You see little bits of blue magic kind of waft off the horse's mane.
What's up, Blinky?
And then it looks
You
over.
feel?
It looks back over its shoulder at you, and you see these little blue glowing dots in the center of its eyes. But then, as it's looking at you, you see the dots kind of shrink up and then just go away, and then it goes back to being its normal, deep black eyes. And then it kind of snorts.
Hector, not having never seen the blue magic coming off Acreos before, he's sort of, I could really use a little hand here. I think you've got something to tell me, and I can't quite work it out. But I don't have the appropriate spell to talk with you. I'll have to wait.
Is he saying that out loud?
Yeah, he's just saying it to the horse. So if anyone overhears, then they overhear.
Valenci will cast Speak with Animals.
Oh, okay.
Using that one from the ring.
Gotcha. All right. Is she gonna say anything to
Yeah,
Acleos?
it says,
You're trying to tell something to Hector here.
You'd see Acleos turn his head and look at you, and it's kind of surprising. He doesn't react like most animals do. Most animals react kind of surprised or a little startled when you do this. and also, when you do this, are you making horse sounds, or are you kind of more like magically like talking?
Everybody sees Valenti making horse sounds and winking. No, no, it's No, she's gonna. I guess whatever magic is translating. I don't know if it would be like yeah.
Yeah, she could just like talk in little like whispers that the horse understands.
Yeah, pretty much being a horse whisperer.
So it would say, time is ticking. I can feel, and it kind of whinnies and says this. It says that I'm not going to try to emulate horse speak like this, but the essence of what it says is, time is ticking. Hector, no, I would say, how would I say it? Time's ticking. The magic of my rider closes in. Please tell Hector, make it soon. He's going to need my help.
Okay, but Valancy will repeat exactly that to Hector.
Okay. I understand now. Yes, not to worry. Skidia wants an answer.
The horse would kind of nod its head, like shake its mane, as if in a horse-like confirmation. But anyway, then the horse just goes silent and just basically stands there.
And then, how's that work? Is that for wisp beasts? Oh, wisp beasts. Okay, so she'll talk to Eos now and say,
Are you all right, Eos? Can you understand me very well? I think I can understand you now as well.
When Eos hears this, Eos would kind of like look at you in a shocked way and then kind of snort and then kind of hop on its feet, like kind of jump a little bit as if very excited. And then it would basically say the horse version of, how are you doing this? Why are you talking to me like this?
There's some spells out there that lets us do this, and I have this ring that was given to me. So I'm able to speak with you. I do believe this ring was also given to me by, or at least part of that bear that you saw.
It's going to say, that bear was going to kill you. Did you see how big it was? It was a predator.
Oh, I don't think we're the ones that it's preying on, though. It's fine. He's a friend. He has come and helped me before. He won't hurt us.
Well, it's time to ride. I want to run.
Yes, it is. We're 2 hours away.
and she'll look at everybody else.
All right. Shall we head toward the fort?
Lotto's going to nod. I could use a hot meal, and he's going to point at Faylene. One of those inns you were talking about. Going to get myself a warm bath and a warm bathrobe. Mm-hmm.
Some new clothes.
And a
yes.
warm bed.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep. I could use a warm bed too. And a shower.
Luna's going to say, what's an inn?
It's a
what's a
place where
shower?
people go and they get rooms and they can stay in the rooms and sleep and take showers.
Are you
What's
gonna,
a shower?
Are you guys going to be saying this while you're traveling, basically?
Yeah, Valencia
Yes.
started like, yeah. Valencia will go over to Kerrigan and lift her up into the horse if the horse will let her.
Oh yeah, the horse soul letter, especially if you ask it to, because now you're speaking with animals.
Yeah, I got 10 minutes of it, so yeah.
And she says, I want to ride with Kerrigan. Will you let her?
And she'll ride over to Kerrigan.
Eos is going to say, only if we can run. It's time to run.
Yeah, I suppose we can. But we can't leave everybody behind, though.
And she'll look over at, Blinky. Say,
All right, Blinky. Are you ready to run?
Blinky would say, yes. You get the sense that Blinky is not the same way as Eos. Like, there isn't this this kind of like unsettled wildness wanting to run. Blinky seems to be a lot more stoic, and actually you kind of detect much higher just overall intelligence level coming from that horse.
And all right, we'll scout out ahead. And if we see anything on the way, we'll come back and warn everyone.
And she'll just take off riding.
All right. So you guys take off riding, and you would basically go for another couple of hours, really unimpeded. You don't really see anything other than the open road, open Arctic land. And as you ride, I'm gonna try to actually do something. I'm gonna experiment with taking this map off here. I think I know how to do it. Shabam. Okay. Now, let me see here. We're gonna go like this. Let me experiment with this. I think yes. So you are basically riding along. And as you are riding along, about the 2-hour mark, you kind of come up over a rise. Like you kind of come up over a rise and you can look down into what looks like a pretty large valley. And you realize that, you know, you've been traveling at a higher elevation. And when you kind of crest over, you look like quite a ways down into a big valley. And it's quite big. Like you can see like a mile down into this valley. And you just realize how high the ground has been that you have been traveling across. It seems like maybe you've been in the mountains. And in fact, when you kind of look to the east and the west, you see that the ground slopes down quite abruptly, almost like you're up on a mountain ridge. But this road going straight south actually provides a pretty easy path down the ridge. And in fact, it looks like it has been artificially crafted in some places. Like maybe rock was hauled and a road crafted to make this better. When you look down this valley, you realize it might have been quite a steep and maybe semi-dangerous track. You would have had to pick your way very slowly down the mountain. But this road makes travel very easy. And you see in the distance, spreading out before you, a large wooden structure. Now, I'm going to show you a picture, but I have to tell you that the picture captures the essence, but it's not exactly completely accurate. I'm going to explain that. Just move these figures to the side. And so now the scope of this that I'm showing you is sort of accurate as far as the like the height of the walls and the height of the towers. The shape is a little different. It is actually in it's like in an octagonal shape, and those mountains you see behind it are not quite that close. You see mountains kind of back behind it, but they're quite a ways back. They're like a half mile back. So those dimensions are a little bit off. And there are 2 little buildings out in the front, like you see here. And you do see a scattering of people moving about. You see that there are oxen pulling kind of carts. You see there are kind of people riding horses. There's actual signs of civilization. And you see that there are banners flying on the fortress. And they are red with a black X in the middle. But as you get closer, you realize that the 2 X's are not just X's. They're actually 2 crossed spears. And as you start, I should say, at this point, you guys are up at the top of the ridge. You've just crested over, and you see the valley, and you see this fort laid out. What would you like to do? And the fort is about a mile down into the valley to get to it.
Okay. So it's not too far, actually, if it's a mile.
No.
Vinlancy was just going to start just staring at it, and then she's used to seeing villages and cities, but in her mind, knowing that she has to go in, her heart would probably start palpitating, and she'll start actually sweating a little bit as her paranoia is starting to, or her phobia is starting to take root because of her thoughts as they get closer.
Yeah, Faylene would also start sweating and like tightening her grip on her staff, and she's like, that's it's so big.
At the mention of that, Booker would look over with a smile. If you think that's big, you should see where I come from.
Why does it need to be so big? What is in there? What well, besides maybe an army.
Valanti will look back.
Most people in my world, we have cities that are almost spanning 16 miles in length. People from all over Solar go to these cities. Great cities. Many different cultures. They all congregate. Share. Trade. It sometimes makes, I suppose, life easier than the barding system, but there are other reasons why people live in cities. Protection. Business. Lots of different beliefs. So many things you can explain. But I've always stayed in the forest.
She her voice kind of quivers a little bit as she keeps moving forward.
But wait, before we go in, what will we do when we're in there? I mean, what do you do?
I
What
need
is
to
our
find this
plan?
beast. I'm not sure about everything else, at least from what I studied, but we could also get equipment, I suppose. I've seen people pass through villages, watching from a distance. Adventurers. And they usually come out with new equipment. You can you can rest there, same as you can rest outside, but I'm not really sure.
And she
Lotto's gonna say, "I'll tell you what. I think the
That's
first thing we should do."
anytime by the time she gets to where it's pretty near,
By the time she what now? What's that?
oh no, I was just gonna say by the time you get about like pretty close to it, where you can actually see the doors and stuff, maybe like half a mile to a quarter of a mile close. That's when the land. I don't know if you ever make mechanics for it for her phobia, but she would start freezing, and she would probably halt Aos, and she would probably just sit frozen. I guess that's her fear, is getting close into villages because of what happened to her.
Kerrigan would ask, "Are you okay? Why are you stopping? Something wrong?"
Hector would just ride on by and wouldn't stop. He wouldn't even notice. If anything, he'd probably turn to Lotto and say, finally, we may be able to find a bathhouse.
Maybe onions, salt and pepper, maybe some fruit. Maybe they have an orange or an apple.
I'm not gonna hope for proper plumbing, but a good bathhouse would be nice.
Yeah, Valanti would just like stay still, not saying a word, just kind of frozen, gripping whatever her hands can grip on, like the mane or something.
Yeah, Faylene's super stressed. She would put a hand actually on Eos and just stay next to Valenti. I don't want to go in there. It looks frightening.
Yeah, the mention of that Booker is gonna look back at them and I don't think I understand why you're nervous.
Okay.
There are so many variables, yes. You've never entered a place like this, I imagine.
If I entered a place like this on my mountain, I would be killed.
Well, we are lucky that this isn't your mountain then.
How do you know that? This place, you don't know. It's covered in snow. My mountain's covered in snow. Magic is different here. Magic is different layer from wherever you all came from. And how do you know that we won't go in there and whoever cut down all those trees isn't just going to cut us down too?
Well, for starters, uh, I wouldn't be too afraid of yourself from what I've heard. In the city there lives there live elves and other races. From what I could tell, maybe our friend here, he looks at Kerrigan, and myself might be a little more at risk than the rest of you, but it should be fine.
Now,
Not all elves are the same.
at this point, a subtle ringing sound reaches your ears, and you realize there's a bell ringing in the fort. And then you see the front gates open, and two riders start to ride towards you. They're on large brown horses wearing what look like black armor, and they have red sashes across their shoulders.
Oh,
And they
we
start
haven't
to
spotted.
ride towards you. One of them is holding a flag, and then the other one's just riding.
If I may do a little recommendation for the two of you, try to stay calm. Or at least try not to look like you're terrified. If I know it's a difficult task, but well, they give me the impression that they control who enters and who doesn't.
Faylene looks like she's going to literally throw up.
Oh my god, the two elves are frozen. Yeah, Valencia is pretty much frozen, and she's going to try to move with fear, and her body's extremely tense. This is like something she's never shown before, and she's going to slide off Eos. And if Kerrigan is holding her, she can feel the tense and fear radiating from her.
As this is happening, Hector, I think that you and Lada would probably be toward the front of the group. Would you say that's probably true?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're the
Yeah.
first one to see these riders coming up, and here's a picture of what their armor looks like. They have a black helmet with a red plume coming out the top. I mean, quite well armored. It's like medium armor. You can see that they both have a large weapon on their back. In this case, it happens to be a long sword, and then they all have a dagger on their belt. And you also see that they each have what looks like a crossbow on a saddle holster, like basically on their horse. So very quite well outfitted. And then one of them is holding a banner that has the sigil on it. And then as they ride up, they shout out in common. One guy shouts, "Halt! Who goes there? Identify yourselves. What tribe you're from?" The guy with the banner kind of finds out.
Hector responds almost immediately, and he says, finally, civilization. You have bathhouses and inns. I am in desperate need for a bath and a warm bed.
He's going to say, "You've made it to Fort Winterguard. This is Fort Winterguard, which is under the control of the Dracorian Imperium. Who do you represent? What government do you represent? Or are you from one of the northern tribes? Identify yourselves." You guys all hear this. You hear that the bell in the fort is still ringing. But it actually ceases quite. It ceases quite soon. About this time, it ceases ringing. You guys see kind of a activity along the top of the fort. You see kind of several soldiers kind of run along the top, and you see that there's activity in the guardhouses. you see what look like a few crossbows raised, and just kind of like not raised as in aiming, but just kind of like at ready position. It seems like the fort is kind of on alert.
Yeah. Hector is going to lie through his ass, just so you all know. Yeah, we've been sent by Dr. Belkin.
Dr. Franz Belkin?
That's right.
You get kind of look at each other. He's like, what associations do you have with the doctor?
And he hold up the Firefly's bracelet. The Fire Bee bracelet, I mean.
He's going to kind of squint, and he's going to ride a little closer. Are you going to respond in any way, or are you going to let him kind of ride closer?
I'll let him ride up closer so we can see it.
He's going to look really close, and he's going to say, are you a personal friend of the doctor's? Or are you a member of the Imperial? Are you in his service?
Yes, we are in his service.
Oh.
He sent us on a task and has brought us to this point. We need a place to rest and refresh. Are you able to help us?
He's going to kind of look at his friend. Roll me a persuasion check. Is anyone else going to talk, or are you going to are you guys just kind of watching Hector interact with the...
I think Booker will stay.
Oh, yeah.
Booker will just like message to Fayle and Balanthi and the others. He's going to message to them and say, we should follow Hector's story. We should avoid attracting suspicion to ourselves.
This guard kind of looks at your group and he says, are you in command here?
Of this group, yes. Not in command overall, but of this group.
He's going to say, what's your name?
I am Thanatos. He just gives his last name.
He's going to kind of look back at his friend. You see his friend shrug in his black armor, and he just kind of rests his hands on the saddle. And then he's like, well, all right, come on in. He's going to kind of turn around and start to ride again. And the other one turns around, rides back. You kind of hear them mumbling. The one guy says, they serve the doctor? And then the other guy's like, apparently, must be some special contingent, maybe mercenaries. Anyway, they keep riding. Are you guys gonna follow them on in?
Yeah, Hector will just telepathically let everyone know to stay close and don't wander off the road. We've been watched all the way, but we should be okay to get in.
Well, Valenci is the only one that's going to have problems with that just because of her phobia. So she's still staying behind while everybody's moving forward.
I think
I'm trying to figure out a good mechanic just to roll to see.
Yeah, I was going to say for that kind of thing, I didn't make a mechanic because usually what I would say is I kind of let you as a player decide how you'd like to run it.
Yeah, I was just going to roll something really quick just to see if she can
go for it.
Push herself forward there. Which would...
Now, on this map, there's some little trees here, but that's actually not super accurate either. This map is a little bit off in the sense that there aren't those trees out front like you see on there.
Right.
But you pass those two little buildings, and as you get close, you realize very quickly that those two buildings seem to have firewood stacked in them. They seem to be like basically completely filled with firewood and firewood cutting tools. And you see men out front basically cutting firewood. And as you kind of pass by, you realize that everyone you see out in the front is dressed in this black armor, but they're not all armored. Like some of them, like the ones cutting firewood, they actually have their armor off. And it's like sitting beside them, and they're like working on cutting firewood. There are some guys pulling some mules around, and you see the same thing. Like they're kind of wearing the same boots and pants, but it looks like they're just wearing a coat, and their armor is like up on the wagon seat as they're pulling the wagon. And everyone you see right now seems to be wearing the same kind of issued clothing. And then as you approach the front gates, you see that there are guards up on top of the fort.
Can we see how many there are up there?
Sure, I'll put them up here. Now, these corners are quite tall. You know, they're like 30 feet tall. And you see that there are some guards up in there. So these are all the guards you see just right offhand right now. And then these two ride, and basically there's the door. You see that the doors kind of swing open, but there's a larger door that seems to like lift and lower. And there's a little bit of like a not a well done, but a moat in the front. And the big gate door kind of is lowered down over it, and they ride across it. You hear the horse hooves clattering on the wood as they ride up, and they basically enter the fort. And now here's what I'll say is you can move your characters, and if you choose to move them into the fort, you can, or if you choose not to, it's up to you. But you just, at this point, you see these guards up, and they're just like leaning their hands on the rails, like they don't look like they're at high alert anymore. And as these two guards ride through, they're like, "Stand down. They're soldiers for the doctor." And then you kind of see a lot of the guys like, oh, you know, they're just like, they lower their crossbows back onto their sides, and they just like stand there.
Baleen is going to subtly kind of like grab Valenthi's arm and then try to sign to her stealthily. In sign language, like they are the ones who burned the trees. Let's just find this creature and leave. I don't like it here.
Lancy will try to sign back, like, agreed. And she will stiffly let Faline lead her.
Yeah, Faline
like
is
the first time that she's been this just pretty afraid. You hardly ever see her afraid, even against big creatures. But this time she's, her phobias are taking over.
Faline will link her arm and just kind of, follow Booker and Hector's lead and keep near Eos where she feels comfortable as well.
Hector, are you riding Aklios into the fort?
I would have liked to, but
Okay,
I can't move his.
Oh, sorry. I just assigned him to you so you can control him.
Thank you.
Whenever you guys ride in there, you see that as these guards ride in, this boy comes running out of this building here right in front of you. And in this building, you see there are a bunch of horses and oxen. And it's like a square, sort of like a stable type structure. And it's actually quite well made. Very nice hitching posts, stalls for the horses and whatnot. A boy comes running out to take the horses from the soldiers, and they dismount. And the boy leads them in. And then another boy comes running out and runs up to you, Hector. And he's actually, he's got slightly pointed ears, maybe a half-elf boy. But he comes running up to everyone else you've seen so far has been human. But he comes running up to you, and he just was like, "Sir, can I take your horse?"
You can try, but Akbalos will go where he wants.
He's going to reach up, and for a minute, he reaches up for the reins and realizes there are no reins. He's like, "Oh, where's his bridle, sir?"
Doesn't need one.
Oh,
like I said, show him where the food is. Show him somewhere to rest, and then come back and show me where to clean up. I need somewhere to clean up. I've been traveling for days.
He's going to turn around and run into the stables, and then he's going to return with a rope and like a bowl of grain. He's going to kind of shake it, and then he's going to offer it to Aklios, and then he would slip the rope around him. and kind of fashion a loose bridle on his head quite skillfully, actually. You see that this boy seems to be well versed in handling horses. He's about 12 years old, probably. And then the boy's going to pet the horse. He's going to look at you and say, "He's a fine one, sir."
Indeed, indeed.
"Is he one of the wild ones? Did you find him out in the wilderness? I've heard there's wild horses out there."
There may be, but this one is special.
"Well, I'll take good care of him. Don't you worry. What's his name?"
I call him Blinky. He has such beautiful eyes. When I first met him, he blinked.
He's like, "Come on, Blinky." And he kind of leads him into the stables. And then off to the side a little bit here. And then you kind of see him put him in a stall and tie him. And then he starts to immediately like brush him, and he gives him hay, and he starts eating. That same boy who was out there before, that human boy, comes running out to get Eos. And Valentia, are you still riding Eos?
No, she had gotten down, but she is following Faylene. She rolled pretty good on her rolls, so she's starting to get a little bit comfortable. Just hyperventilating, but other than that, she'll look back for Kerrigan.
Where is Wolf from? Oh, there he is. Kerrigan comes in, and she's just like looking around, like with this look of wonderment on her face. Well, I should say her body language displays wonderment. She's still wearing her mask. And then the boy would run up and basically ask, would you like me to take your horse for you, sir? Kind of points at Acleos. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not a sir. Valenthi. He's like, "Milady."
Valentia will look down, and she looks over at Eos.
The boy's also got a rope and a bowl of grain.
What do you think, Eos?
Eos kind of sniffs at the grain and snorts a bit and kind of shakes his head, and then walks up to the grain, and then he just like takes a big old bite and starts chomping on it. And then you see his attitude kind of change, and he's like gets a little more friendly, and he kind of starts rubbing up against the boy and trying to get more of the grain. And the boy slips a rope around him and fashions it into a bridle, like to lead him. And then he's like, come on there. What's his name? He's a pretty one.
His name is Eos.
Come on, Eos. And then you hear Eos like like whinny excitedly as he starts walking into them. Now, at this point, you guys would get approached by a character you would see come out of basically this area over here. And he looks like this. Look at his token here. And then I've got a portrait to show you up close. He's a human, longish black hair, very handsome. Maybe 28 years old. He's wearing a long sword at his side, and he seems to be dressed slightly differently, perhaps an officer. And as he approaches, he kind of says, "To whom do I owe the pleasure? My name is Captain Miles. I'm in command of the Imperial contingent here. This is the Imperial 48th Regiment. We're in charge of Winter Guard, and I will be your host. And I would like to offer you a warm place to sit and a meal. And I would like to ask you some questions, if that would be all right." He holds out a hand as if to shake hands with whoever offers a hand.
Yeah, Hector would step forward and say, "About time. So where's this resting spot?
Oh, come
somewhere
on.
to talk, somewhere to eat. Come on.
Yes, come
Let's not
with
dilly
me."
dally." And
So
he'll
he
turn
would-
around and he'll say, 13, get your ass up here. So for Luminode, being 13, being his original name.
Luminode Lumino jumps down off Booker's shoulders and just kind of walks along with you. You see that the captain looks rather surprised to see Luminode, and you see him kind of look around at all of you. His eyes linger the most on actually Faline and Valenthi. You kind of see him look at you, and then if you're going to meet his gaze, would either of you meet his gaze, like, you know, just in a...
Faline would meet his gaze for a second, yeah, just partially out of terror, partially out of curiosity, and in Faline fashion, just a little part of defiance that she can't tamp down.
When he sees Faline and Valenthi, would you meet his gaze too? Like if he tried to look you in the eyes?
Valenthi, getting a little bit of her composure, would probably look at him, yes.
He would behold Faline and Valenthi with a slightly different attitude than when he's talking to Hector. And he looks at Lotto, and he doesn't seem very surprised. He looks at Luna, doesn't really seem to care that much. But when he looks at you two, he would suddenly stand at attention and give like a very stiff bow. And he would say, "Miladies, I hope you find your stay pleasurable. If there's anything I can do to make it more so, you need only let me know. We are happy to host those of you from the Elven Lands here."
Valenthi would say,
Yes. I wouldn't mind having a tour of the place here.
Of course. Would you prefer the tour before or after the hot meal?
Why don't you give them a hot meal? Let them eat. I will eat later.
He's gonna kind of nod, "As you wish." He almost accepts it like a command, and then he would turn to Kerrigan, and then he would walk up and he would say, "You must be from one of the northern tribes, the Orc tribes. He says, from which tribe did you hail? What was your tribe called?" And then she just like kind of looks at him, and she's still wearing her mask. And then she actually
In Booker's head, he hears Hector.
Mhm.
And Hector says, "Tell the Orc girl to keep her identity secret. Tell them that she comes far from the west."
Yeah, Booker is going to do exactly that, but using message.
Oh, okay. Is he trying to hide that he's casting the spell? Is he trying to keep it a secret?
No, he's gonna do it. He's going to do it openly, and he's going to do it openly. He's talking to her in Orcish.
Gotcha. Okay. So whenever she hears this, she seems to take it to heart, because she actually just looks at him, and she has her mask on, and she doesn't respond, and she certainly doesn't behold him with any kind of kind body language. That's for sure. And then he would just like kind of listen for a minute, and when he doesn't get a response, he seems to just kind of turn away and look to you, Booker, and he would say, "And you do not strike me as an orc from this place." He says, "You have that complexion of the Southlands. From whence do you hail, sir?"
Oh, me.
You'd say,
Well, I do, as a matter of fact, come from the south. My clan comes from a small island. You wouldn't know of it. It's in the southernmost sea.
"Oh, well, you have come a long ways."
Oh, you have no idea.
I will be excited to hear what you can tell me of your travels. But I have a feeling that in the service of the doctor, there will likely be confidential information. With that being said, I would set your mind at ease. As the captain here, I work side by side with the doctor on an almost daily basis. And while I am technically the commander of the fort, he actually does hold command of this regiment and its activities here. He is the commander of our northernmost activities. You have You have arrived at the northernmost front of the Dracorian Imperium. The glorious frontier has expanded only this far, and as you see, we build the road heading north. By this time next winter, we will be 100 miles further north here, carrying the glory of the banner of our God and King to all of the people of this land, liberating them from their harsh, terrible, violent existence and embracing them into the warm arms of the Imperium.
Hmm.
With
Yes,
that,
who exactly-
says, all hail the Imperium.
He's going to nod. He's going to kind of like, he's going to have kind of a funny look on his face, but he's going to nod. He's going to say, he says, for the Crimson Right.
Hmm.
And Valenthi will walk over and say,
Where is the doctor currently?
The doctor's in his study, and he has been alerted to your presence, and he'll summon you when he is ready to see you. He says, my job is to be your host until such time as he's ready to meet.
Well then, I suppose while they eat, I will take that tour.
Of course. And then he kind of snaps his fingers, and you see one of these, this one who was holding the banner before, he walks over, and you see him like take his helmet off and hold it to the side. And you see that he is another human. Nice, neatly cut brown hair, clean shaven face, maybe 22 years old, quite a young man by human standards. And he's going to stand at attention. And then the captain is going to say, or the commander, I should say, is going to say, this is Captain Roland. He is, well, he's quite an astute and a studious soldier. He is one of my most trusted commanders here, one of my most trusted officers, and he will give you a tour. While I take the rest of you inside, get you something warm to eat, and then he's going to say, Captain Roland, please see to it that. And he's going to kind of look, he's like, Milady, I'm afraid I didn't get your name.
My name is Valenthi.
He's going to say, it will be your job to show Valenthi everything she would like to see. And then he's just going to nod like an understanding at the captain, and the captain nods at him. And then at that point, everyone roll an insight check really quick.
Hmm.
It's the 10 for Hector.
Oh, not 20.
Oh,
Oh,
22.
19.
you guys are rolling really good for this. Okay. So you all pick up on this. You detect that when the captain or the commander says to the captain, take her, give her the tour, show her everything, and then he gives like a nod, you see that it's almost like a nod of encouragement or like a nod of like assurance. And then the captain gives a nod back, and you almost detect a bit of anxiety or maybe even fear in this younger soldier. Like for some reason, being asked to escort Valenthi seems like it would maybe be a scary task. And the commander is trying to calm his nerves and get him to kind of bolster his courage. So the captain would walk forward and he would say, Milady Valenthi, please follow me. You detect a bit of a waver in his voice as he kind of walks past him. He's holding his helmet in one hand and just walking with a stiff kind of march.
Valenthi will look over to Faline and Kerrigan, see if they want to follow or if they're going to follow the rest of the group.
Kerrigan starts to follow you.
Faylene looks very torn. She's very much waiting for somebody to give her a direction.
I think Booker will gesture her to go with Valenthi if she wants.
Are you sure?
Well, and he's going to message to Phelan. Well, it seems like your kind have these people have a high respect for your kind. Could be useful.
Baleen will look at Valenti and Kerrigan and just kind of, I'll stay. You go ahead.
Valenti will nod, look at the soldier, and say,
All right, lead on.
Whenever
if Hector telepathically communicates with Luminode, would Luminode be able to understand him?
Hector has, I believe that it has been established that Lumino does receive your telepathic communications. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So he will telepathically let Luminode know to stay with Faylene closely and to keep himself out of sight if he sees Dr. Belkin. He must not talk to Dr. Belkin.
At this point, Lumino just looks up at Faylene with his big unblinking eye, and then he would hold up a hand as if to take your hand, Faylene.
Oh. She just this is the worst day of her life. Again. Takes his hand.
He would take her hand and basically just walk along beside her wherever she goes, basically. And then the commander, he would, whenever he hears you say, Faylene, that you're coming with them inside, he would give another stiff bow, and then he would kind of turn, how soldiers turn at attention, turn to heel, and then he would start walking this way, and he would say, "Please follow me." He says, this is our, let's see, what would they call it? Got to consult my notes real quick. He says, "This is the mess hall." And then he would basically walk through some big doors and into the mess hall. Now I'm going to see if I can do this. I'm trying to make this a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to see if this works. Yes. Okay. I'm going to overlay this here because this is about. I'm moving too many things. What's going on here? Okay. Can I move this? Layer, duplicate.
It might be locked.
I think it is locked. Oh, it is. Okay, but I can unlock. Oh, look at that. Okay. So
Nice.
It'd be about here. Okay. And then lock it. Ah, yes. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so you guys would basically, if you want to, go ahead and follow him in there. And he would basically come in here and there's actually a cook in there. And the cook is dressed actually in a black, is really the equivalent of a chef's coat, and he has a kind of a handkerchief tied to his head, and he's a human. And when you walk in, you see there's a bunch of food kind of stored around, and then spices and things. This is the right one, isn't it? Yes, this is right. And the cook is, I'm just going to put a token here for him. He's kind of up in here, and he's cooking stuff, and you smell actually it smells really good, and there's a big pot of something cooking over the fire. And then as soon as they come in, the commander kind of shouts, "Food for our guests." He says, "Dish everyone up with double helpings." He says, "I'm sure that after being in that frigid wilderness, they are in need of some hot food." He says, "I know that when our soldiers return from reconnaissance, they are starving. There is nothing out there but, wild game and danger, actually." And so, Faylene, you're going to sit over there. It looks like you're sitting not with the group on purpose. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, she just wants to stay near wherever the door is, but within listening range.
Gotcha. So at this point, this guy would be bringing out big bowls of what kind of looks like a white soup with chunks of meat and potatoes and carrots in it, and in gravy. And then he just starts putting them in front of you. He puts one in front of Lumino, puts one in front of Faylene, and then he goes and gets more, brings them out, puts them in front of all of you guys. And then he would also go back in there and he would pour a bunch of big wooden cups of ale and bring it out and set it down in front of all of you. And the food tastes delicious, actually. And then
Hector asks for bread.
the commander is gonna look over at the chef and he's gonna say, "Bring us bread." And then you hear kind of cupboards opening and closing, and then you hear some cutting, and then he comes out with a big plate of bread and he puts it in the middle of the table. Kind of big, actually surprisingly fresh looking, good bread. Not like lumpy army bread, but like good bread. And he brings it over here, puts it on the table, puts a bunch over here. He puts the same amount on this table as he does on the other one. So, Phelan, you have like 5 people's worth of bread.
Jeez.
And you kind of see that when he sets the bread down, he kind of snags one for himself and kind of chews on it as he goes back into the kitchen. And then the commander would sit down. Actually, he would come over to where you are, Phelan, in his big boots, kind of like, walking on the floor, his loud footfalls, and then he would pull the chair out and he would kind of push his sword to the side and sit down. And then he would say, "Milady, please tell me where you hail from. To what do we owe the pleasure? And I would like to understand who I'm speaking with, as I'm sure you can understand, to avoid offending you, and so that I know how I should conduct myself moving forward."
Baleen awkwardly kind of shuffles with the utensils in front of her and puts food in her mouth so she can think of something to say. And once she's finished chewing, she says, "You may call me simply Phelan. I will not be offended, for that is my name."
He says, "Is there an official title I should use?"
The Fire Shepherd of Clan Suvi.
"Fire Shepherd of Clan Suvi it is, my lady. I find it curious that you're traveling with this group and yet not the one in command. I was told that," and he kind of turns and kind of speaks to you, Hector. He's like, "I was told you, sir, were the commander of this contingent."
That's correct. I told you that before, just outside, not 5 minutes ago.
He's going to say,
You're not very smart, are you?
You told the guards.
he's gonna kind of smile and he's gonna say, "My apologies. Perhaps I like to ask twice, assume once, if you know what I mean."
Yes. The old tradesman's trick, eh? Measure twice, cut once.
Says,
Yes.
"Well, I used to be a tradesman, actually.
There you go.
My father was a tradesman, but I joined the army when I was but a boy."
So tell me about what's going on here. How far have things progressed? When are you due to start your next stage of this expansion?
Well, he says, "Right now we are constructing the northern road, which is the northernmost road in the whole Imperium, which is actually quite impressive. And I have to say that I feel privileged to be a part of it. And," he says, "when we've reached 100 miles, we're going to build another fort. And we're going to establish a new presence further north, and we're going to begin the process of assimilating this territory, bringing civilization, stability, and safety."
I understand that. But I do have one question for you, Commander. Why do you burn all the wood?
He says,
Wood
"Well,
is useful. We can use that to build more forts, more roads. Why are you burning all the wood?"
he says, by that, do you mean the woods that the road went through on your way here?"
Yes.
He says, "That wood was not considered suitable for construction. Most of it was too small. And we have plenty of natural resources here." He says, "and there will be plenty more of it north. The location we've selected for the new fort has ample resources. So clearing the land to make way for roads and to limit the possibility of, hiding places for ambushes and whatnot is the most pressing priority."
Yes,
Baleen
but
says,
why not use axes and weapons and tools to cut down the forest. Why use fire?
Oh, well, fire is the fastest way to burn the stumps out. We use alchemist fire
Yes,
on the stumps.
but tools and hand axes and things strengthen the army. Adds power to their arms. You're
He's
missing a
gonna-
point here. You're missing a training opportunity here to improve your army, to improve your company.
He's going to kind of raise an eyebrow, and he's going to kind of look over at you, Faylene. He's going to say, "Does he speak to your sensibilities, milady?"
She tightens her lips together and says, "He does. Burning down that old grove was like skinning your own mother to patch a tent."
He kind of bows to you, and then he would say, "Point received." He says, "Perhaps I shall rethink my strategy next time." And you guys get the sense that like he kind of raised an eyebrow at Hector, almost like he was prepared to maybe like argue, or it was going to get a little bit heated. But then he like basically saw Faylene's words, and then when she said that, he just immediately like basically you might say intellectually retreated, kind of. It seems like he seems completely unwilling to cross Faylene in any sort of manner for some reason.
Faylene will say, "Hector is the most studied among our group. If he has concerns, then please give them your full attention, Commander Miles."
He's going to kind of turn toward Hector, and he's going to kind of walk over here, and he's going to say, "Very high praise to come from one of elven lineage. Sir, it must be well earned." He says, I ask for your apology if my attitude seemed abrupt in the face of your well-placed criticism."
You're a military man. Yes, you should have recognized rank from rank. If I'm ordering an elf around, do you think you have any sway over me?
He would
You
kind
think
of
I am
nod.
at commander level? No, I'm far beyond that. You will respond appropriately all the time.
He's gonna ask, "May I inquire as to the nature of your mission, of your activities?"
We are researching the Outlanders.
I see. Has your mission been successful?
We are researching. There is no success, no failure. We are researching. We are learning. We are gathering information.
You guys hear this as Hector downs the whole ale. Then he like holds it up and shakes it. And you see the cook come out and grab it and go fill it up back up again. Now, meanwhile, while this is going on, we're going to go to Valenti real quick. So this captain is walking along with you guys. And Valenti, you are walking. However, you do notice that this other soldier, still wearing his helmet, is actually kind of following along behind. And he seems to be watching Kerrigan, actually.
And Delancey will look over at, I guess, Captain Roland here and say,
What is the business of this other soldier here? He seems to be following us.
Oh, well.
Does he not trust us?
Well, in truth, your compatriot here, actually, I shouldn't misspeak. I don't know if they're your compatriot or if they're your friend or if they're your prisoner. But we received no other orders, and so it's just the Northerners, when they come into the fort, we tend to keep a closer eye on them. We have had troublemakers from the local population before, and so we tend to be a little cautious. With that being said, milady, if you would prefer me to order the man to stand down, I would gladly do so.
Yes, she is very close to me. She will cause no problem here.
You kind of see him turn, and he just like kind of makes like this hand gesture and points, and the other guy just like gives a kind of a quick bow, and then he turns around and walks off.
And says, she saved me, you know.
He's gonna say, "Saved you from what?"
Well, death, I would say. And she'll look at him and say, so, what is your main objective here?
Says, "Well, the actual mission is one of assimilating Norskal into the Imperium, and so we're doing this little by little. This area right here, this fort, and the surrounding region has been claimed by the Imperium. Technically, the liberated forces of Velara, but they are also in service to the Imperium now, of course, since the war, since the Velaran continent was liberated from its corrupt leaders, and so now it expands ever northward in glorious purpose. Now, this building right here, he kind of points to this. He says, of course, at the top we have our guard tower. This is the guard tower that houses the bell you might have heard. It's an alarm we ring, of course, if we see anyone crest over that hill. We have been attacked several times, though not recently. The Northerners have been driven back, at least the more savage tribes have been driven back, and there are military exercises being conducted in the north to keep them focused, to keep their focus off of us, and this has been very successful. They seem to not be well coordinated, but if they were to be coordinated, they would pose a dangerous force. There are giants, there are many creatures, there are many fae who control the woodland creatures, some of which are quite large. But thankfully, they stay divided and unfocused on us, whilst they fight with themselves in the Northland. Now, this building, though, is our storehouse, our supply depot. He kind of just gestures to it. This is where we keep the majority of our supplies. As you see, double thick walls, rock on the inside, designed to withstand fire, designed to withstand even bombardment. As you know, the Imperium is well trained in the art of siege warfare. They're very successful in Velara, even around the larger cities. The bombardments sometimes lasted for months, and yet the Imperium won out with superior firepower, technology, and war machines.
Who exactly leads the Imperium?
As well, there is the High King, of course, who leads the Imperium itself, and then, of course, there's our Lord, the Great Flame, our High God, Scalathar, whom we all worship and revere as the Savior that Regenesis has needed. And
I see. I think I've had a mention of there was recently some creature that was captured.
He says, you've heard about this?
Yes. Do you know who Lyra is?
He's gonna, he kind of like looks at you, kind of like looks surprised. He's like, Vyra? Yes, I know who she is. Do you know who she is?
Oh, yes, of course.
Are you her? I'm assuming you're her enemy. Or her friend. He says, if you are, well, let's just put it this way. If you're not Vyra's friend, you're her enemy, and she doesn't have very many friends. But if you're like the rest of us, we really try to maintain a decorum of alliance because, well, as you know, her missions have been vital in the north. She's kept them divided and attention focused on other things. But
what would you call her to you? Do you think she would be a friend to you or an enemy?
I avoid her, yes, as much as possible. She's not a friendly creature. She's not here, though, thankfully. She was here. She was here just a week or so ago. But thankfully, she's not now.
So getting back to this creature,
Yes. Okay. So he's going to kind of walk in closer to you, and he's going to say, "As you know, the clutch was successful. Um, 5 were born, which is actually quite miraculous. All hail the Crimson Scale. All hail the Crimson Right. However, a year after, during initiation, one of them resisted, of course. This is the problem. But thankfully, the creature was found. We were able to detain it, and we have it here. It's in the fort. We have to keep it in an iron cage. This is the 3rd cage we've built. It broke out of the first 2. Can you imagine?
Valancy will look very excited. She'll pretend and faint for that, and she'll say,
You don't say. This excites me.
Well,
You're lying, aren't you?
no. He says, I swear on the gods.
Really? That sounds quite impossible.
Well, you would think so, but the thing is, well, it's. He kind of walks up to you. He actually gets very close, and he's like, "Would Milady mind if I whispered something in her ear?" He's asking you, Valenti.
"Oh, sorry."
He basically asked, "Would Milady mind if I whispered something into her ear?" There are some things you shouldn't say out loud, of course.
And she'll say,
Yes, of course.
He would lean very close, and he says, "It has the blood of Eclipsis, the Fang of the North. And so, who could imagine the power that flows through its veins?" And then he backs away, and he's like, "But of course, she didn't accept the right, and so we had to capture her and bring her here. And she's to be sent south for re-education. She's to be sent to Dracoria, to the interior."
Oh, well, that's interesting. Could you show me? I would like to hear this beast.
Oh, well, he's like, we're not really supposed to go over there, but the commander told me to give you a tour and to show you everything you wanted. So he just kind of starts walking.
Don't worry, I won't say anything.
He says, "Well, even if you did, I mean, the commander would never want me to not show you something you wanted to see. I mean, the only thing really off limits would be the doctor's quarters, obviously, but he's probably going to talk to you eventually. He's probably already been told you're here, and he will he'll summon you actually very soon, probably, especially you and the other elf to him, probably to talk. Anyway, then he kind of goes around.
You kind of broke up a little bit again. Sorry.
Oh, did I break up? Sorry about that. Maybe the mic's. Okay, then he's going to say, when he comes back around here, you see this large wagon, and it's actually right here. And it's not on the map, but it's a big wagon, and it's a covered wagon, and it's quite large. It's 15 feet long and about 8 feet wide, and it's sitting, and it's got actually 6 wheels, and it's got these wooden sides, but you can see that they're reinforced with steel, and then it's covered with this thick canvas. So when I say canvas, I don't just mean waterproof canvas, heavy duty canvas. And then you see that around it there are 4 other guards who they kind of look they look a bit weirdly at you guys when you approach, and these guards are actually armed. You see that all of them are armed with a spear and swords, and you see that they have nets. But then this guy would approach, and they would stand at attention, and one of the guys would say, "Captain, nobody's supposed to be back here." And then the captain would kind of turn and gesture toward you, Valenti, and he would say, "Commander's orders." He says, "We have a guest from the Elflands. She is to be shown anything she desires." And at this, they all just bow and retreat, basically. And then the wagon is just there, and he's going to kind of walk up to it, and he takes a step, like a very quiet step toward it. And you see that he gets really quiet as he starts to move toward it. And then his last step over to it is like very quiet. And then he kind of reaches a hand up to the canvas, like very, very slowly. But right before he touches it, the whole wagon just like lurches to the side, and you hear this just shriek come from inside the wagon. And actually, when it shrieks, Valenti's vision almost blurs a little bit. And you might find it almost like it's almost hard to like not kind of like fall backwards a little bit in like being startled. Like it really affected Valenti. Like it's like this screech, and then the soldiers all like draw their weapons, and the whole wagon starts like shaking back and forth. And you hear these just like screeches, and then you hear this like mournful, like animalistic howl, and it strikes Valenti to the core. It sounds like this empty howl of like loneliness and defeat. And then all of you who are in the mess hall, you all hear this from clear across the fort. Like, and then Faylene, you realize, like when you hear this, there's something very familiar about it that stirs you. And then when you start to hear it, it's a little muffled from inside, but suddenly all the talk just stops. Like the commander just like looks over at the door. You see his hand kind of go to his sword at his side. While let's go back here. We have a couple more minutes left. Let's go back to the mess hall. What are you guys going to do when you hear this?
Faylene will stand up and say, "What is that?"
The commander is going to kind of look up at you, and he's going to say, "The cargo." And then he's going to quickly stand up, and he says, "I must excuse myself." And he's going to quickly march out of the room.
Dave's just going to follow him.
Okay. Luminode comes running after you with a pitter-pattering of feet. How about you, Hector and Booker? What are you guys going to do?
Should we? Sounded like that's our beast.
Luna's going to jump up and go running after them. Lotto's going to look over at you, Hector. He's going to say, "What do you think that is? Maybe a tiger?"
This up north? No, it can't be a tiger. Well,
Hector, I think you are muted.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was away talking away.
It's fine.
All to myself. Yeah, Hector is he basically continued to eat. He didn't flinch when he heard the scream or anything. And as Booker asked the question, he leans forward around the corner trying to see the chef. And he turns quietly to Booker and just says, "That's our quarry."
Lotto's eyes are going to widen.
Thought as much.
Sounds dangerous.
Indeed.
And then Lotto's going to scoot over to you, Hector, and he's going to kind of lean in really close. He's going to say, "Is it time now?" He's like, should I introduce the chef to the ways of the dirt?"
No, this chef's going to help us, buddy.
Oh.
And then he stands up and pushes his empty bowl in front of him, and he yells out to the chef, "Where's the quartermaster's?" Where's the quartermaster?
Let me consult my notes really quick.
Yep.
So he is going to say, "Well, the quartermaster's usually in the supply room, which is straight across the way." He kind of points.
Fantastic. Booker,
Yeah.
Lotto, let's go. let's go to the supply room, get some supplies, and get ourselves ready for the next stage of our journey.
As Lotto starts walking out, he just says, "Compliments to the chef. Delicious stew."
We'll be back shortly.
The chef just kind of nods, and he's like, oh. He doesn't really say anything, actually. He's just awkwardly standing there watching.
Book is going to look up at him. He's a bit of a connoisseur, so so his compliments means a lot.
The chef's going to kind of nod, and he's going to say, "Big fellow. Probably requires a lot of fuel." Just kind of chuckles. Now, as you guys are going outside, this commander would basically, march very fast.
Faline is like follows them as fast as she can. She says it again. I said, "What is that?"
He kind of turns back to Faline and he says, "It's the doctor's quarry. He says it's the reason the doctor is here. That is the reason he was sent here from Dracoria. Is his mission. He's going to take it back south, but I have to go check on it." He's like, you see soldiers running along the ramparts when they hear the shrieks. In fact, you see them kind of pointing crossbows downward at the wagon. It's almost like the whole base just goes on alert. And then when he comes around here, Faline, when you come around, you see Valenthy and the captain over there, and the captain was about to touch the wagon, and the whole wagon's shaking. Now, at this point, Hector, are you going to follow them, or are you going to go over to the supply?
We're heading to the supplies.
Okay, so it's directly across the way.
Yeah.
Like to the left, or?
Oh yeah, like over here, basically. And then actually,
yeah.
There's let me see if I can do this.
Where am I?
Okay.
There I am. Hiding in the shadows. Typically.
I gotta find the rights. Okay, here we go. Oh yes. And then when you get there, there's nobody there. The guards who were out here are not here because they seem to have all run down to kind of the bottom part of the fort, or the south part. And there's not really a door that you can see, but the doorway is basically right here. And it's not locked. You can walk right in. When you walk in, you see a storeroom quite filled with, enough provisions to last 50 men a month. Just potatoes, rice, like dried meats of all kinds, dried fish, herbs, spices, all kinds of vegetables.
Any
barrels
arrows and quivers and small arms?
Not in this room, but you do see that there's a stairway leading up, and you see that there's a sword etched on the doorway. And it is not locked. It's just a doorway, and there's stairs leading up. And it's not very, this isn't super accurate, but the stairs would be over in this area, or actually over in this area.
Hector would look for a ledger or something like that.
Oh yeah, so there's a ledger actually right on a table by the door when you walk in.
Yep. So he'll look at the way it's written out and everything like that, and he'll go, "Okay, go grab what you need. Tell me what it is. I'll write it down in here. They'll be none the wiser."
Lotto walks around and he picks up a sack and starts throwing food into it, and they just start shouting. He's like, 12 potatoes, pound of dried meat, salt and pepper. He picks up and he throws them in the bag.
Very important.
Don't forget some dried herbs.
12
some
onion.
Spices. Definitely need some spices, mate.
He picks up a handful of these hanging dried herbs. Tobacco. He puts it in the bag.
Hooker. Booker, head upstairs, grab some weapons. I think
Yeah,
that's the
I
usual
was just
layout of
about-
these sort of
I
places.
was just about to say, we shall inspect the armory.
Yeah.
So
Make
when
sure you
go
grab at least 4 quivers of arrows.
Sure thing.
So now, Booker, when you enter the top room, and I apologize, I don't have an armory map right now, but if you go up there, it's about the same size, and you realize it's the second floor of this like tower is the armory. And when you go up in there, there's nobody in there. There's a ledger by the door, but you see basically, you see like racks of weapons, and there are roughly 10 of each kind of weapon, but there are long swords, spears, crossbows, short bows, daggers, shields, suits of studded leather, and then suits of actually. Let me double check which one. Which one is the medium? Is it scale mail that's medium?
Yeah, scale mail.
Yeah, scale mail's medium.
You find there are like 10 suits of scale mail. There are, let me see, hold on. And there's kind of, it looks a little out of place, but there's one morning star hanging on the wall, and there's one what is it? A flail. And that's all of the weapons that are in there, and plenty of arrows and bolts.
Well, the first thing he's going to grab, it's what for quivers, but then he's going to look over to he's going to go to the armors, and let's see, what would he grab? I think he would grab studded leather. He's not used to wearing proper heavier armor.
All of the armor is in the same style as what these guards are wearing, like all black. And then you see that there's a nice, basically pile of neatly folded sashes beside them. And all the armor has a helmet with a red plume on it. And obviously there's also boots and gloves. Oh, I should also mention, down in the storeroom where you are, Hector, there's a whole rack of cold weather gear. There's 10 suits of very, very high quality, the kind of cold weather gear workers would need to go out and work in the frigid cold with, very, very high quality stuff. So that's down there as well.
Hector would grab 7 of those suits and give them to Lotto to put in his stack.
You see Lumino just running around in circles. At first, it looks like he's helping Lotto grab things, but you realize he's actually just running around. He's not doing anything. Luna's sniffing around, and she's looking at a lot of the vegetables really strangely. She's like, "What are these? Can you eat these?" And then Lotto kind of looks over. He's like, "Oh, those are turnips. Put them in the bag." She's like, "How do you eat them?" And then she tries to nibble on it, and he's like, "Well, they're not very good that way." He says, "Fry them up with a bit of cabbage and a bit of salt and pepper. That's the way to eat turnips." And she just puts it in the bag. She seems to not know almost what anything is in this room. But anyway, Lotto seems like an expert. So now, while you guys are doing this, nobody even comes in there. You kind of hear Booker, up where you are, you hear above you a lot of commotion. People, you can hear them running on the level above you. And when they kind of run over, a little bit of dust falls down from the ceiling into the room you're in. But the room you're in is actually quite dark. There's only one very small window. And it's just big enough that you can kind of fire crossbow bolts out of it. But aside from that, there's just nobody in the room. But it does sound like there's commotion going on up on the level above. That seems to be getting people to run a different direction.
Okay. Well, in response to that, he's going to quickly, put on a set of armor. He's going to grab a shield. He's going to grab the quivers. He's going to write it all down in the ledger.
Oh, is he gonna record it? Okay. In that case, you should just, as a character, go ahead and make a list of all the stuff you're going to grab and take, just so that you have kind of a record of what you have on your person, basically, like your inventory.
Yeah.
And then Hector, you should make a list of the things you're grabbing, and I'll make you guys a list of what Lotto grabs.
Yeah. Yeah, Hector downstairs, he's just going to grab those suits, really.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Upstairs, you probably telepathically or yell out, considering there's no one around. You'd say to Booker, make sure you get things for everyone.
I'm on it.
I'm gonna have Luna and Lotto grab some things too, but I'll write that down in a little bit. But while you guys are grabbing stuff, we're gonna switch scenes real quick and go back down to the wagon. And you all arrive here. Kerrigan is here. She comes around the corner. The soldiers are here. Like basically, Valente, you saw the captain reach up, and then almost before he even touched the canvas, the whole wagon just started shaking. And then you see the commander and Faline, like eventually come running around the corner. There was a little bit of a lag time, so basically the captain kind of backed away. And Valente, you saw him visibly shake, and like his hand was kind of shaking. And the soldiers around him are kind of looking at him, and they all seem a little actually scared too. They kind of start backing away. One of them gets a net out, like he's getting ready, and then another one is like, "She can't break out of this one. This one's too strong." And another guy's like, "Are you sure? I was there when she broke out of the last one." And then they just all start backing away, really scared.
Valente will look at the captain and says,
"What's going on?"
The captain's going to say, "She's awake."
Oh, I see.
And Faline, you're
You
here.
try to calm her down.
Good luck. Feed her. It's the only way.
Valente will use her ring and see if she can talk to the beast.
Now, at this point, no one has raised the canvas or anything. The canvas is very thick. It wouldn't be a matter of just flipping it up. You'd have to really work the canvas up because it's also strapped down. But if you reach out with Speak with Animals, is that what you're using, Speak with Animals?
From the ring, yeah.
Got it. So if she reaches out, suddenly the shaking would stop. And everything goes kind of quiet. And then a voice would speak back to her, and you would hear it, Faline, as kind of a growling sound. Not so different from, like, you know how cats will yowl when they're angry? It kind of sounds like that, but it's a little raspier and snarlier, and then it's quite loud. But Valente, you recognize this. "Who are you? And how are you talking to me like this?"
And Valente will this time try to mimic the beast so they don't understand.
Okay.
And but anyway, I guess Kerrigan and everybody else will look at her weird, but she'll
say, "I am Valente. I've been sent here in order to try to help you, to release you."
Help me? Do you mean re-educate me?
No, to set you free from these people. I just had to figure out a way to do it. They have quite a few guards here. I've been sent by Pioneer and also Mithril.
You hear a growl, and then you hear footfalls. It sounds like the creature's pacing around in the wagon. And you realize, Faline, you're close enough that you realize this isn't a very large creature. It's pacing around the wagon, and you kind of hear its footfalls. They don't sound super loud. But they are clicking on the steel floor of the cage. And then it says, "Then open it."
Valente was like,
"I will, as soon as I can. But there's a lot of guards here, and it could pose problems for both of us."
Then you hear this growling sound, and then you hear her say, "Liar!" And then the whole wagon shakes, like you kind of hear her launch herself at the bars closest to you, Valente. and the whole wagon shakes so hard it almost looks like it's going to tip over, and the guards all go and they'll like, the ones who hadn't yet draw their weapons, and then you see that the bars kind of bend outward, and you see that the canvas like it's ripped, and you see like a claw come through like and reach for you, and Valenthi's like barely able to get back out of reach before the claw misses her.
And she'll say,
I do not lie. I have to save you in order to save my life as well. But in order to do that, I can't kill us both at the same time that I'm rescuing you. You can do whatever you're doing now and be angry, or you can trust me. Either way, even if you don't, my mission is to set you free. But I will not die in the process of doing it. I have to figure out a way first.
So you hear some kind of growling, but it sounds like it's kind of abated growling, like it decreases in intensity. And there's now that big tear in the canvas that you could look through pretty easily. And then you hear the voice say back to you, Valenthi, fine, in kind of a disgruntled tone. But then it actually speaks out loud. And it starts speaking, and it's speaking a different language. Faylene, what all languages do you speak? And then Valenthi, remind me which ones you speak.
I think we speak the same ones: Common Sign Language, and Elvish.
Okay. It starts speaking an actual verbal language that neither of you understand.
see, what do I have? I have Giant and...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's not giant.
I have Giant. Sorry. I don't know how I closed. But yeah, sign language and Dwarvish and Sylvan.
Gotcha. No, you don't understand it. Now, with that being said, this is kind of time for a bit of a reveal. Would Faylene and Valenthi like to look through the canvas and see what the creature is?
Yeah, even if she can't see through the tear on this side, Faylene would turn into the soldiers and be like, I want to look at it.
The soldiers would be like, just looking at you and terrified. And then the commander would say, as you wish. Just be careful. He like says it genuinely afraid, like afraid you're gonna get hurt, afraid. So if you both look through it, it's time for a bit of a reveal. You see a small creature sitting in the middle of the wagon. Oh, not the full version. We need the full version. The portrait. Standing about 3.5 foot tall, sitting on his haunches, a white wormling dragon. And you realize that the language it's speaking is Draconic. It's just about 4 foot tall, so it's small size. But she's just a little dragon, maybe a year old. And then as she looks at you, you kind of see her white eyes blink at you, and they glow with an almost magical hue.
Because of the ring, would that also have me be able to still understand it?
Oh, yes, actually you could. And what she would have been saying was, you're not even speaking my language. You're speaking the language of mortals. She's like, and then she was like, you're nothing compared to me. And that's when she attacked.
Sorry, I don't know if anybody else understood. I don't know what is going on. I went down again.
Yeah,
Cut it
yeah.
Maybe the music might be too loud. Okay, so basically what she would have said was, she would have said, you're not even speaking my language. But then the words, she would say, you would have understood them because of the ring. And she would have said, you speak the language of these mortals. She's like, I'm better than you. And then she attacked the side and swiped at you. And then she would have said, I'm above all of you. That's what she said.
Valenthi will say,
You may be above all of us, but you still need help. And that's what I plan to do.
And that is where we will leave it for now. This white dragon wormling locked in the cage. Valenti has made contact. And we will take it up next Tuesday in episode 13.
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
Thank you to the players. Thank you to everyone who watched. Super fun session. I'm going to hit end stream. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you'd like to catch us next episode.